What a wonderful Wednesday afternoon. How are you? And welcome to the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. It is the Gregor Show here on Sports 1440. We hope you're having a lovely day, as always, presented by title sponsor, PlayAlberta.ca. You can get in the game if you like casinos. They got that. You want to get on NHL, NBA, NFL when it's around, whatever you like. They got that. Slots, casinos, and more. One-stop shop at PlayAlberta.ca. And, man, there is lots going on in the sporting world. Oiler fans, last night did do nothing, I would think, to slow down your frustration, as the Oilers are clearly in a funk right now. Big time funk. That game last night, like outside of the Draisaitl goal, did they generate one good scoring chance? Like, honestly, how many really big saves did Vasilevsky have to make? And we talked about it yesterday. The Edmonton Oilers, 27th in odd man rushes, 5-on-5 against, 24th in scoring chances, high danger chances off the rush against. And what did they do in that first period? It was just like, here you go, here you go, here you go. Here's another chance off the rush. Oh, they were bad. That game wasn't overly close, to be honest. And now they have a day off. They'll lick the wounds, and you know what? Now you go into Florida. That's where they stole your dream. It was Game 7. So you're either going to come in there and it's just going to gut you, or it's really going to fire you up. And you would hope that it's the latter for the Edmonton Oilers, because their emotional level, I don't think, is there enough to win games. Now, they don't have a bunch of emotionally charged players anyway, and I think that hurts them at times in the regular season. I'm not one who's a believer that because of last season's postseason success, that suddenly all the guys who played well last year in the playoffs are all going to play well again. It's not how it works. Just because you have a really good year one year in the playoffs doesn't mean the next time, well, hey, that guy showed up, he's automatically going to show up again. Like, do I think the Oilers' penalty kill is going to be 90% in the playoffs again? No, I don't. Because it's extremely difficult to be that good in the playoffs. Like, that was, I'd argue that was like an anomaly that you're probably, you might never see again, to be honest. Like, their PK was outstanding, utterly outstanding. And, what was it? It was actually 94.3%. Like, if you, the only teams that have ever, I got to double check it, but I think, teams that played even 10 games, never mind 25. Like, the Oilers went to the Stanley Cup final. No team in the Stanley Cup final has ever been that good. I know that Dallas a few years ago, they went 2 rounds and they were like 95%, I think it was, something like that. But teams going deep. The Oilers, the Devils, when they went and won the Cup in 2000, they were pretty good. But to go that deep, to be that good, come on. It's going to be hard to repeat that. So automatically, you're going to have to, there's going to be a few more goals against on your penalty kill next year. Like, it was amazing. I think they might have been -1. I got to go back and check it, but I think they might have been -1 on the penalty kill last year, because they only allowed 4 goals, basically 1 goal around. And I know it didn't work because I don't think Dallas scored, and they scored 3 shorthanded goals. So they were -1 on the penalty kill last year, which puts them at what, like 98.5%, give or take, because they were shorthanded. I think it was 70 times, 71, whatever it was. It was ridiculous. So they're not going to be the same, right? Like Connor Brown. Has Connor Brown done, like, what has he done this year? Not very much. Like Matthias Janmark. Like, where are these guys? You can't just sit there and say, well, they're all just going to turn it up in the playoffs. They got a lot of guys. I know everybody's always mad at Bouchard and Skinner, like they're the only players. You got a whole bunch of guys doing nothing too often. They're not hitting. They're not scoring. They're not checking. Right? What are they doing? Like Janmark and Brown. Okay, great. They're on the penalty kill. The penalty kill stinks. It's 27th in the NHL. And miraculously, it's 27th, despite 30 game stretch in a row where they were best in the NHL. How does that happen? How do you go 15 games being 59%, awful, then 30 games where you're pretty damn good at 87%, and now back down to 66%? Like, make it make sense to me. But they just got too many passengers right now. Like last night offensively, Matt Savoy had a few looks. The one time he got a lucky bounce off the end boards, but the puck was bouncing, so he didn't get a whole bunch on it. Leon Draisaitl, he shows up every game. But after that last night, man, there was very little offensive pulse for the Edmonton Oilers. Kasperi Kapanen, you're a fourth-line player. You can't have that giveaway in the neutral zone. But directly, you can't do it. You toe drag one guy, and then you try to make another move? What? Get the puck in. So, Stan Bowman, he's getting a good sense of what his team's at. Now, for me, I don't think a GM goes in crazy panic mode because you lose 4 games, when you're still a top 6 team in the league. I don't think he does. However, when I look at the issues of the Oilers, I think a lot of them have been the same issues that I felt are there all year long. I don't think they're quick enough. I don't think they have enough energy, sass, truculence, pick whatever word you want to describe physicality. I don't think they have enough of it. Their penalty kill is just, hey, it is what it is. You can say I was good for a while, but on the season, it's 27th. It's 73%. It's not good enough. Right? They don't draw enough penalties. So you've got a really good power play, but it doesn't get to go to work very often. So that's not good. And those areas really haven't changed. And they're, as I mentioned, since mid-November, when, by the way, they're actually been playing good on that stretch, they're still 27th in odd man rushes against and 24th. And I actually should check. I won't be surprised after last night if they've gone down to be like 28th and 25th in odd man rush chances against 5-on-5 and high danger chances off the rush 5-on-5. Right? So those are areas of concern. And you can't fix everything at the trade deadline, right? Like they claim Travis Dermott today on waivers. They'll send him to Bakersfield. No one else put a claim in, so he'll go down there. They were looking for a depth left defenseman. It was like going to be a number 7 or a number 8, and that's what Dermott is. Doesn't cost you anything. Okay. But if you go back to August when Stan Bowman said, you know what, nothing against the players. He was part of the reason why he didn't match Holloway and Broberg was because he wanted cap flexibility. Well, here you are, 9 days from the trade deadline. You said in August, you did the decision so you could have cap flexibility. Well, to then not make moves because maybe small chance Evander Kane might come back, I can't do it. You got to go. You got to swing. They got to make some moves. Get a right shot center who can kill penalties. And there's a few out there. Jake Evans in Montreal. I looked at Michael McCarron's number. So because Jake Evans is going to cost you more, and he's a better player, 100%. But he's also a pen in UFA. Coming off a $1.7 million contract, he's hoping to get a raise off of that. He has 11 goals, 2 shy of his career high. He's 27 points, 2 shy of a career high. So probably going to set career highs in both. Good timing for him. He'll get a raise. He's a better player. He'll cost you more. Michael McCarron has 1 more year left. He's 6'6", 230 pounds. He's a right shot center who takes mainly defensive zone faceoffs. He's 53.9% on the season in the dot, and he's 53.6 in the defensive zone. And oh, by the way, here's some numbers for you. So Michael McCarron he's been on the penalty kill for 104 minutes this year, and he's been on for 11 goals against. Pretty good number. Compare that to the Oilers' top 4 penalty killers. Connor Brown, Matthias Janmark have each been on for 17 goals in 80 minutes. So he's at 11 goals in 104 minutes. They're at 17 and 80. You can do the math. Not good. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 13 against in 91 minutes. So better than Janmark and Brown, but still not better than McCarron. Now, Adam Henrique is very close. 9 goals against he's played 90 minutes on the penalty kill. So which averages, similar to McCarron. And he's a right shot. So you have Henrique, you have Nugent Hopkins who can take faceoffs. Because Janmark and Brown, they kill together, but neither one's a centerman. They're rarely out there for draws, right? So they can only come in on the fly, which means they're not even starting the penalty kill very often. They're still getting pounded. So you can't just sit there and say, well, Janmark and Brown automatically are just on the team forever because they kill penalties. Well, not when they kill penalties. They don't produce much 5-on-5. And they're getting murdered on the penalty kill right now. So they got to fix it. So I would look at Michael McCarron. That's a guy I would look at. And I don't think the ask is going to be monumental to the point that you're like, well, we can't do it. Then you look at, some other possible additions. I've said it all along. I like Trent Frederick. I would have no interest. I have lots of interest in Trent Frederick. Now he's a Penn and UFA. He had 18 and 17 goals last year. Now, right now, he's on pace for 12. His shooting percentage is 4% lower than each of the last 2 years. He was at 14. He was never at a crazy amount. But he's also taken fewer shots. So fewer shots, lower percentage, kind of jives. Right? I don't expect him to be a big-time scorer. But he's scoring more than the vast majority of the Oilers forwards right now. And the other thing, though, that he brings, he's physical. He has 25 more hits than any Oilers player. He's not a burner, so it's not like you're going to see him flying up and down the wing, but he skates well enough to get in and be physical. And he can stir the pot because right now, when the game is kind of blah and there's not much going on, the Oilers have nobody who can change the momentum. Unless it's McDavid or Draisaitl with a great play. Like, they don't have any guys who are hitters. Emerson every now and then, okay. But what about the forwards? Like, Podkolzin really hasn't hit anybody lately, it seems. They just don't have that. Skinner hits nobody. Kapanen hits nobody. Brown hits nobody. Janmark doesn't hit anybody. Nugent Hopkins doesn't hit anybody. Right? Matt Savoy's a young guy. I don't expect him to hit a lot of people. Like, they don't have that. They need it badly. And you can't just say, well, they're getting Evander Kane back. Well, that's one guy. Can't expect one guy to do it all. You need some other guys. So I'd take a long look at hhim. Now, this one's, some people might say, oh, geez. Now, this is maybe a little bit wishful thinking to me, but Brock Nelson, I'd look. I know he's a center, but I don't care. He can play wing. He's smart. He plays a possession game. He scored 36, 37, 35 goals the last 3 seasons. Right? He just played in the Four Nations. Skill player. I'd be interested in him. And at some point, like, you're Stan Bowman, you came in here, you said that the moves for Holloway and Brogue were based on cap flexibility. Okay. Well, you've got some with Kane on LTIR. Now you got to use it. So we'll get into that on the show today. Also, 833-401-1440 is our text line in our email inbox, 833-401-1440. Mike Rupp will join us right away. We got Tyrell Ford, new defensive back for the Edmonton Elks. We'll be by. We got Yaremchuk, Fedoruk, Rich Winter, of course, another business of sport. And hey, agents moving up now. Now you get on the horn a lot more with your clients. So we'll talk a little bit about that from, we'll have a special guest, Todd Reynolds, joining us as well. We got Spec DVD. So a loaded Wednesday edition of the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Hey, did you know you can get a free drink today?
Nice. I love free drinks.
Yeah, Booster Juice called your name today on the Booster Rewards app. So you get a free smoothie, booster mixer, or fresh juice.
Well then, why are we still sitting here just talking about it?
Watch for your name on the Booster Rewards app and social media. 2 names every day, all February long. Must be a Booster Rewards app member. For complete details, visit boosterjuice.com.
Legacy Heating and Cooling offers no payments and no interest for 1 year on your new furnace. So, when you wake up to no heat, call Legacy. Call Legacy. If you need it immediately with no overtime rates. If you need it immediately and want to combo it with AC. Call Legacy. Call Legacy. No payments and no interest for 1 year on your new furnace. It could only be Legacy Heating and Cooling.
At Papa John's, we're not just in the business of making better pizza. We're in the business of making everything better. Ambitious? Perhaps. Delicious? You better believe it. Monday? Make it a pizza party. Sick of parenting? Get Papa John's on dinner duty. Date night? We've got the recipe for romance. With our never frozen dough and always fresh toppings, Papa John's is committed to making it all better. Get better today at papajohns.ca or visit any of our 50-plus locations across Alberta. Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza.
We've finished construction of our gamma radiation containment facility. Is it up to code? Is it going to be safe?
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Testing team reporting. We test your commercial operations using tools like infrared to ensure safe operation. Trust us to prevent potential calamity before it strikes.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Experience more at the Edmonton Expo Centre. Come for Canada's largest trade show, the biggest names in entertainment, exhilarating sporting events, and more. Stay for the experience. But it doesn't end there. Maximize your brand exposure with Edmonton Expo Centre's new cutting-edge feature screens, spanning Western Canada's largest venue space. Captivate an annual audience of over 1 million visitors during iconic events like Pro Rodeo, Disney on Ice, Glow, K-Days, and so much more. To learn more, call 780-660-0514 or visit edmontonexpocenter.com today.
For years now, we've been warning Edmontonians on the hazards of our stormwater facilities. While they may appear to look like still ponds, there is moving water beneath the surface, which makes the ice dangerously. The unpredictability of stormwater facilities makes them treacherously unsafe for all winter activities, even walking. So think twice. Don't go on the ice. A safety message from EPCOR.
The 2025 Ram 1500 Motor Trends Truck of the Year in St. Albert Dodge is knocking 10% off the price. That's right, 10% off every single Ram 1500 they have in stock. And over 100 are available. These are the 2025's new interior and drivetrain options with increased horsepower and better fuel economy. Other dealers save their best deals for last year's model. At St. Albert Dodge, they're taking 10% off the newest, hottest truck on the lot. That's how easy it is to do business at St. Albert Dodge.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. Feeding a crowd, get the triple plate. 3 large specialty pizzas or 5 toppings for only $54 when you use promo code 3PLAY at papajohns.ca.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Rolling through a lovely Wednesday afternoon. How are you, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley? Sports 1440. Sports1440.ca, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. It's time to go around the NHL, brought to you by McDonald's. And I'm trying to get confirmation, but I'm hearing some big news coming for old McD's. It's very interesting if it's actually true. But you can get the showdown menu right now. Stop in, get the triple cheeseburger. No onions. It's unbelievable. Try the Big Mac David as well, a double Big Mac right now, only at McDonald's. Is Mike Rupp, Stanley Cup winner, ace analyst for the NHL Network, and analyst for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Joins us, Rupper. Good afternoon. How you doing, my man?
What's up, Greg? How are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm better than the Oilers right now. Oof, hey, you've been on good teams, Rupper, and even good teams going to a funk. And man, the Oilers are in a funk right now. They are giving up chances left and right. They can't create many chances. I know Speck joked about it, man. Today was a day off in Florida. They should have went out last night and everybody got buckled and tried to solve their problems because right now it ain't working.
Yeah, I mean that's the old school way of doing it, right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's starting to get into that now because what they have, they got the Panthers and the Hurricanes the next 2 games, right? So it's not going to get very easy as far as an opponent to try to get out of this, but a lot of things aren't going their way right now. I came across this one today. I know that there's been enough attention and brought up, and this is not something I'm concerned about because it is Connor McDavid, but just it's really weird to see some of the underlying numbers when he's on the ice 5-on-5 right now. And I came across this one where it's just the last 5 games, McDavid on the ice 5-on-5. So it's a total time on ice of 85 minutes. So it's not a small sample size. 0 goals for, 9 against, and the high danger chances for just 25%. Like, that is so unlike Connor McDavid. Now, that should be the first thing I think that gets corrected, and it probably would get corrected in a big way because he's the best player in the world. But then there's the penalty kill, things like that. Like, when you're struggling and going through little moments like this, you need something to kind of buy you a moment, buy you time. Maybe it's a big save or a game where a goaltender stands on his head. A penalty kill that's lights out. Right now, they're not even taking that many penalties. The puck's just in the back of their net. So it's just a rough stretch that they've got to kind of snap out of real quick. Because I wonder to myself, is it close enough to the deadline where they've already established probably what their needs are? They've probably got some targets and different things they want to do. I don't know if it changes much, but the way it's looked, I mean, maybe you reevaluate and say, hey, we actually need a lot more than we thought here come trade deadline. It's an interesting spot right now for the Oilers.
Well, I wrote the article today, it just came out at OilersNation.com, that, Stan Bowman, he's got to make some moves here. They said that the main reason why they didn't match Holloway and Broberg was they wanted cap flexibility. All right, I would have matched Holloway. Broberg, I totally understood. I get why they didn't do it. But so you want to cap flexibility. Well, now you have it. And Evander Kane's, I know he started skating, but starting skating and being ready to play, he's at best, he's ready in, early April at best. So you know what? Worry about it then. Go out there, use his LTR space. Rupper, they might be the easiest team to play against physically in the NHL right now. I know that when McDavid's on, him and Draisaitl, they are hard to play against for different reasons. But the Edmonton Oilers, they got barely any forwards who finish their checks. I can't remember the last time that on a dump, like when they dump it in, that it's not an easy back. Like Adam Oates tells me, what's the hardest play in hockey? A defenseman going back to pick the puck up off the boards under pressure. Well, the Oilers don't pressure anybody. It makes it easier for the defenseman to get up and out of the zone right now. They lack a lot of sandpaper on their team, and that would be the first things I'd be looking for. Go get some guys who are going to play with some energy, who when the game is kind of meh, they can at least ignite the bench with a hit or chirping or a scrum or something that will get guys into the game.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I mean, I think that's something you should always look for in the National Hockey League, to make sure you have on your roster, not for the times where, hey, if things get a little sideways, we need guys to protect us. I mean, that's changed a lot in hockey, but what hasn't changed is being hard to play against and forechecking and just being in the opponent's face. And playing hard against, being hard to play against can look 100 different ways, but you got to find a way to be hard to play against. And, even when you're talking about whether it was Broberg, Holloway, I even think McLeod, like they lost youth, they lost speed, and speed is hard to play against. It's another version of being hard to play against, is taking away time and space. And it just seems like this team kind of overnight went from a team that's slotted age appropriately in a pretty good spot to being one of the oldest teams in the league. And it's just, I think that's an area that they really need a little bit of a spark. So I think they need to get some speed. They got to get some more sandpaper and kind of go from there. Cause I wonder if the Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, and some of the good things you have on this roster, if it really just masks a lot of things. And we could say that sometimes a great goalie does that. Other franchise, I think Igor Shesterkin does that for the New York Rangers, where you can't really fully assess where you're at when you make some of these decisions, because a lot of things are masked by a great goaltender or from great players like them. But I think we're starting to see those things rear its head, and they need help right now.
Oh, God, do they ever? So it's an element that they go out and you got to look at. That's the GM's job. And, you find those guys. There are a few other teams, Rupper, like you look at that Atlantic Division and you have Florida, who now doesn't have Tkachuk, who knows how long. Tampa Bay's won 6 in a row. Toronto had another victory. Obviously finishing first means you avoid the other 2 teams in the first round, which is key. And then you'll have home ice in the second round if you win. Do you like one of those 3 teams better than the others?
Yeah, I think that Tampa Bay Lightning is the best team in that division. I think that they're going to win that division. Hold on, let me rephrase that. When I say best team, I think they will win the division. I probably shouldn't have said best teams. I still think the Florida Panthers, when they're healthy and they're ready to go come playoff time, are going to be an extremely tough out. And they're probably still my favorite to come out of the East. But Tampa is a team that I think a lot of teams are they've been sleeping on. When you look at some of the underlying numbers with these guys, it's pretty impressive with their goal differential, their expected goal differentials. I mean, they're one of the best teams in the league in a lot of different areas, in a lot of different categories. I think the big thing that was slipping with them early on is they lost a ton of points and a ton of games in that Atlantic Division early on, and it really skewed where they were at. But they're playing well right now. It has been for a number of years. You don't want to finish number 2 or 3 in that division, and it's still going to be that. I mean, if you're going to sit there, you got to win that division. Nothing's given to you if you do, but it's going to be a really tough out, I think, whoever finishes 2 and 3. But I think Tampa is the team, and you know that they're going to make some shrewd move. One maybe that doesn't move the needle come trade deadline time, but one that Julien Brisebois will look back and be like, hey, that one was a really good under the cover move for us going into the playoffs.
Mike Rupp joins us from NHL Network. The Pittsburgh Penguins, Rupper, man, it's been a tough year for them. It seems like it's getting worse right now. Who do you think they move out before the deadline?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think if somebody came in and blew their doors off for Rickard Rakell, they would move him. But I don't think they really want to move Rickard Rakell. He's been great. It's at the end of the day, I think Sidney Crosby wants to, more than anything, stick around in Pittsburgh for the rest of his career. Be one place and play in one place, win in one place. You got to have guys for him to play with. And I think Rickard Rakell's got some really nice chemistry with him. I think they want to keep him. But if somebody really comes in and makes a great offer, they'd move him. I don't know, looking at this roster, I mean, the ones that were supposed to be moved was the Pettersson and Drew O'Connor. There's a lot of interest in both them. They got moved, obviously, to Vancouver. I think that there may be interest, believe it or not, for coming out of Four Nations for Erik Karlsson. I think that there could be conversations here. I probably don't think it's going to happen maybe until the off season. But I think his performance at Four Nations has shown maybe other teams that he's just not a fit in Pittsburgh, that he can maybe help out some other teams. But obviously Pittsburgh would have to eat a ton of that contract. So I don't know. I mean, after that, Brian Rust is a great player, man. He'd fit on so many different teams in this league and help. I don't think they want to get. I think Brian Rust is going to be a career Pittsburgh Penguin. So it's a great question. I think Kyle Dubas is keeping it real quiet and his cards close to his chest. But we'll see what they do. They got to do something.
Well, they have to do something. And yeah, Karlsson would be interesting to me. Like, I know that Sid wants to win there, Upper. I get it. But and maybe, you know what, going to the Four Nations and then going to the Olympics, those will be his big games, and he'll be fine with that, and he'll stay in Pittsburgh because he knows everything's great. But like the Pens, I don't see how they're suddenly going to get better again next year. Like, they just got so many holes in that team.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think they've got if they knew the right moves now, if they make the right moves now, I think they can do a turnaround and be a competitive team to maybe fight for a playoff spot. But the way it is right now, and growing forward with any kind of roster that you got right now, no, they're moving in the wrong direction. It's going to get worse, I believe.
No, God, 100% it's going to get worse, for certain. What do you make of the Jets, Rupper? How much of a believer are you in the Jets?
I'm a big believer. I like a lot about the Jets. The way they defend, their size, their goaltending. They got a chip on their shoulder, I feel like. So the Winnipeg Jets, for me, are they got as good of a chance as anybody. I think. I do think when Edmonton is doing their thing and looking like the Edmonton Oilers, I still put Edmonton a little bit ahead of them because I've seen Edmonton perform in the playoffs a little bit, and then the Vegas Golden Knights, but. I put the Winnipeg Jets right with those two teams in that Western Conference.
Yeah, well, I know there's the Brock Nelson rumors there too, and it would make sense. I think they get a second line center. They're pretty good, but right now they are rolling. But the regular season is obviously very different than the playoffs. So we'll see. But they're good. I still would like them to upgrade on their back end. I look at their blue line and I think, hey, if they were really serious, I think that's what they'll add. So I'm kind of curious to watch them. And then lastly, Mikko Rantanen and the Carolina Hurricanes. It hasn't been great for him early on in Carolina. So far, he turned down a contract extension. Does he remain a Hurricane on March 8th?
I don't think so. Honestly, I can go on and on about this guy. Carolina's screwed. Like, this is a bad spot for them to be in right now. I just don't. For whatever reason, I just don't see him re-signing there. I might be dead wrong. For them, to keep this kind of window open, I think he has to sign there. I don't think they're going to get anywhere near the value that they gave up for Mikko Rantanen. I think he's gone. I think they flip him at the deadline, and there's a lot of teams I think that'll step up in that moment. But I think Carolina kind of dug themselves a hole, put themselves into a corner, whatever you want to call it. It's a bad spot if they don't get him signed.
Oh, could you imagine? Like, I can't think of a situation where a star player, like something like this happened. So it would be fascinating. And man, if he is back on the market, because keep in mind, he's already half his price, right? Because Chicago's got some of that money. Like Mikko Rantanen and his cap hit, every team out there is like, we'll take a swing at him.
Yeah. No, they would. I mean, he's a dominant player, 100-point guy that's never available. If he's available, that moves the needle. I think a lot of teams get very excited at that.
Oh, God, be great. Rupper, is always good stuff, buddy. We will chat with you next Wednesday.
Awesome, Greg. Thanks, man.
That is Mike Rupp from the NHL Network, as well as analyst for the Pittsburgh Penguins. We got a lot of text coming in, 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. Hey, guys, there's 4 people responsible for the disaster. Holland, Jackson, Bowman, and Kate. Kate's allowing this to happen. Ridiculous. His team was good last year. Again, terrible management. Connor's number, surprising, doesn't care. The team doesn't care with the PB4. It's the Knights' wild stars would destroy him. From John. Well, I guess when you say Ken Holland, like, what was the big error Ken Holland made? I know people said, well, he didn't sign Philip Broberg. What? Philip Broberg asked for a trade. The most ludicrous thing is thinking that, oh, hey, guess what, Phil, you want to trade? How about we offer you a 2-year deal right now in Edmonton when you're playing in the minors? Wasn't taking it. He'd asked for a trade, right? They had time when the season ended. You had a week before Holloway could even listen to offers. Holland wasn't the GM anymore. I don't know. Ken Holland got their team to the Stanley Cup final. Had them improve every year of his 5-year tenure. Now, not every move he made was right, but he made way more good moves than bad moves. I think that's apparent. So I don't really put much of this on Ken Holland at all. Jackson in a short term, yeah, the signings they made did not pan out. There's no question. Arvidsson has not lived up to it. Jeff Skinner, no, not working out. So yeah, hasn't been good there. It's a little too early. Like, how many trades happened from the time Stan Bowman is signed till now? Not many across the league, right? There's been a few, but the orders were never in on JT Miller, right? Vancouver's not trading JT Miller to Edmonton. So I think it's too early yet to rip on Stan Bowman. The season's not over. But right now, the team as it's constructed needs some changes. I think that's fair to say. It doesn't mean that, oh my God, they're never going to win again. They got no chance that they're done. I think that's a little hyperbolic. But I think it's fair to say the Oilers, Stan Bowman, who's now the GM, is going to have to make some changes. And to say, well, you can't trade. There's lots of players we thought were never going to get traded have been traded. It happens. So, you know what? You call everybody. You find out what's out there. If, now Skinner obviously has no movement clause. Maybe he just wants to stay or he wants to be in a playoff team. Well, you live with that. Now, Bowman didn't sign with that contract, like I've always said, but it's his, he inherited the problem. He didn't create it, but he inherited it. So how do you figure it? We'll see. I look at where the Oilers can go from here. They're obviously, this is the worst stage of 4 games in a row. They only lost prior to that 3 in a row, never 4. And how they've lost lately has been pretty ugly. No question. Outside of Leon Draisaitl, there's not a lot of guys you would say, hey, wow, they're playing their A game right now. Not many. Right? I think young Matt Savoy, talk about the worst time to get called up. Team is absolutely dog dung around you. And he's been okay. He doesn't look like a guy he's got some jump, actually. I've liked Matt Savoy's game. I've had no problem with it. Rookie coming in, he's been fine. He get a passing grade for me easily since coming up. But there's lots of other guys who right now they gotta sharpen up and play better. The captain has to play better. You get outscored 9-0 5-on-5 in 5 games. Guess what? You got to play better. I don't care what your name is. He can play better. He'd be the first guy to tell you. Maybe he's banged up. Sure. Maybe. I don't know for certain. Hasn't missed any games. Didn't miss any of the 4 nations. Anytime a guy struggles, everyone, if they like the player, it's like, well, maybe he's injured. But if I don't like the player, well, he just sucks. You ever notice that? It's kind of interesting. Because you don't want to admit sometimes that the player you like is playing poorly. It happens. McDavid's in a little bit of a funk. He's playing below his standards right now. And that's fine. It's going to happen, even to one of the best players in the world. It happens. But the Oilers as a team, they got a lot of guys who've done a whole lot of nothing for too long. So now you can believe in your group, which I think is important because it's the same group that went on a real good run. They had the best record in the NHL for 3 months. So they've definitely got some things going well for them. But how their penalty kill can be this bad again is a concern. You need somebody who can finish playing with Draisaitl. You got to reduce the amount of chances off the rush. You need a big save every now and then from your goaltender. A lot of areas you got to improve. Have to. Can't trade away all your problems, but you might be able to acquire 1 or 2 that hopefully can fix some things. Because I'll tell you right now, if the Oilers come out on March, and when we're here on Friday, so it's a week this Friday, what do we got, 9 days? If I come on the show at 2:00 and the Oilers haven't added any player who's got some tenacity or grit to his game, I think it'll be a colossal fail and will make them having success deep in the playoffs much, much harder. 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. Take a quick break. We got lots more hockey to talk to. Also, hey, we'll talk to one of the new faces in town next on The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Introducing the Female Super League. Female hockey is on the rise with more women playing the game than ever. Join us as we pave the way for the future of women's hockey. The FSL is more than a game. It's a movement and an experience for the motivated female athlete. Teams will compete in a showcase-style format featuring consistent interprovincial competition. Come be part of the journey as the 2024-25 season unveils a 12U division, as well as the launch of a groundbreaking progressive body-checking 14U division. For more information, visit FemaleSuperLeague.com.
Play Alberta has hundreds of casino games right at your fingertips. Join thousands discovering why Fortune Coin is one of Alberta's most popular games. Fill your reels with golden coins, multiply your prizes up to 6 times, and turn good spins into legendary ones. Land the Fortune Coin symbol to win cash, trigger the jackpot, launch the free spins bonus, and watch as the dragon takes over your screen. New players get 100 free spins only on PlayAlberta.ca. Claim your offer today.
Do it. Your vehicle is a big investment. Protected at Hughes Car Wash. We use only clean, fresh water and the highest quality car wash soap. Hughes Car Wash, the car wash pros.
Find us at HughesCarWash.com.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
Adventure just doesn't stumble into your life. It roars to life with Riverside Motorsports. Tearing up trails or cruising the open road. Yamaha ATVs, side-by-sides, motorcycles, and dirt bikes deliver the performance you crave. Built for thrills, ready for your next adventure. Yamaha's legendary performance and reliability take you there. Make Mother Nature your playground on a Yamaha from Riverside Motorsports. Located on St. Albert Trail. RideRiverside.com. Riverside Motorsports. What you do for fun is our business. Well, get ready for a silly hockey fans. Your partner in power just skated onto the ice.
EWEL.ca, the new e-commerce website for electrical wholesalers Edmonton, is ready for the power play 24/7, 365.
UL skates to where the puck will be in 5 years. Now that's forward thinking.
Killer selection, slamming products from the best brands, and legendary service.
Don't sit on the bench. Get your account today at ewell.ca and win that project.
Plug into your partner in power. Get an EWEL.ca account today.
The Alzheimer's Face-Off presented by Christensen Communities Limited hits the ice April 25th to 27th, pairing hockey fans with some of their favorite players from the NHL Alumni Association for a fun-filled weekend in support of the Alzheimer's Society of Alberta and Northwest Territories. Friday features a champions luncheon followed by the teams hitting the ice on Saturday and Sunday in a friendly hockey tournament at Terwilliger Rec Center. To purchase a table to the champions luncheon or to learn more about how you can get involved in the tournament, visit alzheimersfaceoff.ca for more info.
From the casinos of Vegas to the bingo halls of Leduc, everybody wants a piece of Lady Luck. And what thanks do I get? It's like I don't even expect.
There's no such thing as luck. If you gamble, use your game sense. Visit GameSenseAB.ca.
Roll Up to Win is back at Tim Hortons, and you've got a shot at millions of prizes, like the all-new, all-electric 2025 Volkswagen ID Buzz. Play on the Tim's app until March 23rd. Rules apply, Canada only. No purchase necessary. Visit the Tim's app for details.
Looking at the Alberta weather forecast, wild, unpredictable, brutally tough.
When the weather turns tough, Titan Supply doesn't back down. Titan Supply has been protecting workers from conditions like this for 50 years. We stand tall with you against the elements with the industry's best rigging, hauling, and lifting products to get you home safe. Tire chains, wire rope, round slings, chain slings, and a whole lot more. Titan Supply in Edmonton, Grand Prairie, Red Deer, and Calgary. Online at titansupply.ca. Lift, dig, haul.
Are you afraid of losing your car or home due to debt? Don't let fear or shame hold you back from seeking help. Bankruptcy is not the only option. A consumer proposal can reduce your monthly payments, lower your overall debt, and allow you to keep your assets. My name is Parveen Middleton. I'm a licensed insolvency trustee at BDO here in Edmonton. I'm here to help you tackle your debt. Take the first step towards regaining control of your finances. Call 1-833-BDO-TALK or visit bdodebt.ca to learn more.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Culligan. For all your residential water needs, your local water treatment company. More than just big bottles, Culligan.com.
Tricks, touchdowns, and home runs. Get it all with the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.244, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. It is the Gregor Show, as always, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where you can get your tickets for the always trusty Lotto 649. Play the classic $20 million gold ball jackpot tonight, and the classic jackpot of $5 million. Get your tickets at PlayAlberta.ca as we get to the football report, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. They are hiring right now, looking for HVAC installers and plumbers. You get signing bonus for the right candidate. You also get very competitive wages, RRSP matching, tuition reimbursement, and more. Sign up today. Apply today. LegacyHeating.ca. We are joined now by I think this is the first twin brothers who have played for the Edmonton Elks. Tyrell Ford, of course, spent his first 2 seasons with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, going to the Grey Cup, both years winning it once and unfortunately losing it. The other time, he signs on to play in Edmonton, and just for a little added bonus, gets the opportunity to play with his brother, quarterback Trey Ford, once again. Tyrell joins us now. Tyrell, welcome back to the show, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm great. Take us through the negotiation period for you. And was it like how much of an influence, if any, did playing with your brother have on your decision making to choose Edmonton?
I mean, obviously it played a factor because I wanted to play with him because I played football with him my whole life, so it kind of just felt normal. But I don't know. I kind of got to do what's best for myself at the same time because you can't play football forever. And so Edmonton kind of made me the best offer, I guess you could say. And yeah, so I ended up here.
And now, were you a little surprised that Winnipeg, you've had a lot of success you had 7 picks, a lot of knockdowns last year in Winnipeg. Were you surprised? Were you ever close to a contract with them?
I guess kind of close, but I mean, not, I guess obviously not entirely there. I mean, I did have some success in my second year, but I mean, my first year, I didn't really play any defense at all. So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Now you didn't play a lot your first year. Obviously had great success your second year. And, you come in though to an organization that's all they've really done is win the last few years, right? You get to the Grey Cup every year. It's a pretty successful organization. Did you notice kind of the winning mentality right away? And how can you help instill that in Edmonton?
Yeah, I mean, I noticed it right away. It was just the guys in the locker room were very like tight knit. Everybody was together, and we all had the same goal, and we worked towards it. We put a lot of extra time in, and I think that's one of the things you have to do to be successful. And it's one of the things that I'm going to try to implement in Edmonton, and try to help the guys, and go try to win a championship.
For Elks fans who haven't seen you play a lot, can you describe the best elements of your game?
I would say I'm fast. I can make big plays, and I do a good job at reading the offense. And that's one of the biggest reasons I'm able to be successful.
When you play in the secondary, cornerback, halfback, they're very different. Which one, now obviously you've had the most success at corner, but could you play half? Would you ever want to play half or even safety?
Yeah, I think I can play all the positions, to be honest. I think I'm definitely most comfortable outside, and it's easier for me to see the game from that spot. But yeah, I could play half. There's a couple weeks in Winnipeg where during practice I'd play half and stuff. So it's fun. It's something new, but I definitely think my spot is outside. And as far as safety, it's like, I think safety is just a fun position to play. I think it's the lowest stress job on the defense. But yeah, I think I belong outside.
When you play, the low stress in the sense that, there's not, obviously there's rare, are you ever man-to-man coverage as a safety, of course, right? You're there, you kind of oversee, and then, you want to gravitate to, hey, if he's going to the short side, all right, I'm going over there, far side, whatever. But if, when you're playing safety, a lot of them like to look for like the big hit at times, right? You come across, that deep ball across the middle, the safety steps up and he can rock them. You always gravitated towards the corner. So what was it about the cornerback position over halfback that you gravitated towards earlier in your career?
I think it was just being able to see the field. Because when I line up at corner and I know everything's in front of me, because I play kind of like cocked towards the sideline, and I know everything's in front of me and there's nothing behind me. So I know as long as nothing gets behind me, I'm safe and I can still make up for it. And yeah, it just lets me see everything, and it kind of gives away what the route's going to be, because you can kind of figure out where the space is going to be depending on the routes, and it kind of makes your job a little easier.
Okay. Now, I know that talking to Trey, when he was court, you ran a lot of routes with him. That's why he says I think he's got the best hands of any DB, because the running joke was always be receivers who can't catch play defensive back. I know it's not true, but you're a guy who can catch, hence the 7 interceptions. But why did you gravitate towards a DB and not being a receiver?
Yeah, so I was kind of mostly, I guess growing up I played receiver and DB, and then once we got to high school, we realized, like, we were at practice, and I don't know, I felt like we weren't really getting better. because me and him are obviously the best two players on the team, and so there wasn't like super great competition when we were both on offense. So I decided to go on defense and try to make it a little more competitive day to day, and then kind of, I guess, liked playing defense and realized there wasn't any like big name DBs coming out of Canada. And so I was kind of like, why not me? And then, yeah, that's how it happened.
Okay. Looking ahead to this season, when you see the acquisitions that they made on your defense and having conversations with your defensive coordinator now, how aggressive of a defense do you think you're going to have in Edmonton?
I mean, it depends on how you look at aggressive. I think we're going to have a lot of pressure.
Okay.
I think our defensive line is pretty insane. So that's going to make my job easier. But I think our D-line is going to be so good to the point where we're kind of going to be like the Eagles in the championship, where we can get a lot of pressure without having to actually blitz.
Right.
But it's still going to be a lot to deal with. And then obviously we got a good secondary, and our linebackers are also insane. Like, you got two linebackers with over 100 tackles. So, I mean, I just think we're going to be super strong on defense.
What about, because there's you come in from Winnipeg, the D-line, lots of them come in from Toronto, your new safety in. What about the gel factor? What does it take to gel as a defense?
Well, I mean, I think that's something that's obviously going to happen in training camp once you get all the guys in the room. And I think it just comes down to, we all have to buy in, believe in each other, and kind of do our job, and obviously help others do their job. And I think we'll be just fine. I mean, you're looking at Toronto, who's had a lot of success. They've beaten me in the Grey Cup twice, the both times I went. And then obviously I've been there. So, I mean, I think we have a lot of winners in the room, and I think that's something important that we're going to need to turn things around.
Ed Hervey, Chris Morris, Mark Killen, they've all talked about, wanting to unify the group, make it like a family and home. And obviously for you, it's definitely going to be a family affair. You play with your brother. He was talking about, hey, he's going to have an extra hand around the house because you'll have a second niece or nephew to help babysit or parent, I guess, however you want to word. Uncle, maybe. It's always better to be the uncle than the parent. I can tell that from experience. But that factor and building that, like, it's always nice to say those sorts of things, and every organization team wants it. But how do you feel as an individual player you can help make that happen?
I think the way I can help make that happen is just showing up and providing some leadership. I think I bring a lot of experience in winning, and I kind of know what it takes. I mean, obviously not all the way because I haven't won. So obviously between me and the guys from Toronto, what it takes to have a good defense and be able to win games and win late in the season and playoffs and stuff like that. And I think I'm good at making everybody else around me better. And I think that's one of the most important things that I do.
The off season for you now, how does it change from previous years now that you're in a new organization, if any?
Yeah, no, it doesn't really change anything at all. I've trained with Trey in the off season every year. Okay. I've been training with him this year. I still play some receiver. Yeah, it's going to be the same thing it was last year.
Now, both of you, there was no hesitation on saying, hey, Tyrell's faster. How much quicker are you than your brother?
I don't know. If we race a 40, I'll beat him by like maybe one stride, maybe two, if I get a good start.
Now, are you as quick as him when it comes to evading pressure? Like lateral, side to side. What about that?
Yeah, I mean, I returned kicks in university. I thought I was pretty good, but I mean, I got to Winnipeg, and I guess they said no. Not sure why. I mean, I know the first year they had JG, Jadarian Grant, who was really good, but
okay.
I don't know. They didn't really let me. And it's also important to remember, he's juking out mostly D-line. A little bit different. But I have seen him make a couple of DBs look a little bit silly. So.
Now, so would you speak to your new head coach? And when you were in did you say, hey, I'd like the opportunity maybe to return the odd kick. Is that in your future as a member of the Elks?
No, probably not. I'm like three years out from doing that, so I'm good on it now.
Okay, you've lost the urge to want to do it, is what you're saying. But what if they because Javon Leake's pretty good. He was a special teams player of the year a few years ago, and then they didn't use him as much. And then Killam has said, no, we're going to use him a lot this year. But let's say if in a pinch they had to put you back there, how confident are you that it'd be like riding a bike that you could do it?
I mean, if I'm back there and they kick it to me, there's a good chance I'm going to score. I'm not going to lie.
I like the confidence.
That's if they want to put me back there, so we'll see.
Okay. What made you a good returner?
I mean, I played running back a lot growing up. And obviously I'm fast. I'm explosive. I'm pretty shifty when I got the ball. Yeah, I think that's what makes a good returner.
And lastly, when Trey better than most. Obviously, you guys are twin brothers. You've seen him. What has impressed you most about his evolution as a quarterback? And where do you see even maybe more room to grow in his game moving forward?
I think he's done a good job, realizing the defense, breaking down the defense, and knowing, especially when defenses are running like +1 pressure and getting the ball out quick. And he's playing quarterback more instead of trying to do it all. He's getting the ball out to his athletes in space instead of relying solely on his legs or on himself. So I think he's doing a good job. The only thing I think he needs to do better is he needs to avoid taking big hits and stay healthy. And being a franchise quarterback, you can't get hurt for 4, 5, 6 games of the year. Okay. You got to stay healthy, and I think that's part of. I think that's on him. I think he needs to slide a little bit more and avoid taking those big shots. But other than that, he's doing a pretty good job.
Now, when you tell him that, what's his response? Take less.
Yeah, I need to start sliding more. I said, yeah.
But then it's easy. I guess it's easier to say it than when in the heat of the moment, it's like, oh, geez, I could get an extra few yards here. Or maybe I can beat this guy. So you're saying a little bit more selective in when you're going to run. Okay. That makes sense.
And protect the ball a little bit more.
Yeah. All right. I like it. Very, very good advice from the bro. Now, by the way, who's older, technically, you or Trey?
I am older. I do not know by how much, though.
Okay. So you are officially then the older brother. So he has to listen. That's how it goes. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, Tyrell, as always, man, thanks for this. Enjoy the offseason. We'll see you in Edmonton very soon.
All right, perfect. Thanks for having me.
Tyrell Ford. You know what? Hey, I love really good, honest assessment of his brother and where he thinks the team's at, how they're going to do it. And hey, no lack of confidence. Hey, if they're kicking me the ball, I'm scoring. Well, now I want to see. But hey, they do have Javon Leake. And I was always perplexed last year why they had Purifoy, who basically was like, okay, this guy won't fumble, but he ain't going to do anything. He's not going to return anything. And, Javon Leake. So now Rankin and Leake are going to be splitting the running back position. But I think Rankin's going to be your main back because Leake's going to be on returns. He's going to be on all the returns this year. And then he can still get in the game as a running. It's not like, remember Giz? Giz started out as a return guy. Then he became a receiver, right? And he was doing both. But Javon Leake, he was quite excited when he was talking to Herbie before he resigned and said, hey, we want you to return the ball more. That's the special teams player of the year. I was kind of perplexed. We talked about that, Connor, last year. You've got one of the best weapons, but you're not using it.
Yeah, I mean, and he was so explosive as a running back, so you understand why they want to get him out there and keep him fresh for that. But the team also had really good options to use, on first or second down, especially if you are going to get that first down. Why not let League go out there, get you good field position, give Rankin a few carries, trust your offense to get the first down or two, and then by that point, you're going to get League right out there and bust out some explosive plays. I like it, especially just having that depth at the position. You have the ability to do so. Why not put the ball in your playmaker's hands? And Javon Leake can do it. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Let's get to the comment. Sports 1440 update brought to you by Booster Juice. You got a few days left this month because they're giving away free Booster Juice smoothies and more. If your name today is Claudia or Ted, get to a Booster Juice today for your sweet smoothie. And follow me online to find out if your name's going to be called tomorrow or Friday.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Late night in the NHL, just 3 games on the schedule. At 5, you got the Jets in Ottawa. At 7:30, the Avs hosting the New Jersey Devils. And at 8 o'clock, the Canucks head to Los Angeles to take on the Kings in the association. Raptors head to Indiana, taking on the Pacers. That starts at 5 o'clock. You also the Pistons and Celtics. Sixers in New York to take on the Knicks. Wizards host the Blazers. Thunder in Brooklyn. Heat up against the Hawks. Clippers travel to Chicago. Jazz take on the Kings. And the Spurs are in Houston. The Edmonton Oil Kings on the road once again tonight out in Brandon, taking on the Wheat Kings. That'll start just after 6 o'clock. In the AJ, you got Bonnieville heading to Grand Prairie, taking on the Storm. Puck drop at 7. And in the PWHL, Ottawa taking on New York. That'll start just after 5 o'clock. Coming up in hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Tyler Yaremchuk from Oilers Nation, also Graham Fedoruk from Leading Edge Physio. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
It's Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
Okay, how about you give us your star winger for a bag of pucks? What if I throw in some Will Hawk beef jerky?
Yourself a trade.
With Will Hawk Beef Jerky on their side, the Alberta teams definitely have an unfair advantage this trade deadline. Pick up some today and use it for trade leverage in your fantasy league.
No way, man. It's way too good.
Will Hawk Beef Jerky, only available in Leduc. Get yours today, because you don't win trades with salad.
I'm Colin Livingston, president of Cantork. Since 2016, we've been at the forefront of hydraulic torque wrenches in Canada. I'm delighted to share our latest venture, in-house production for quicker turnaround, superior quality, and heightened versatility. Experience excellence at cantork.com.
At Leading Edge Physiotherapy, we believe in the wisdom of Patch Adams. Treat a disease, you win, you lose. Treat a person, I guarantee you'll win no matter what the outcome. We don't treat conditions, we treat people. From personalized treatment plans to compassionate care, we're committed to helping you achieve your goals. That's why hands-on techniques, unique technologies, and a commitment to hiring amazing people mixed with friendly, fun neighborhood environments. And ta-da! No, it's not magic. It's about being human. Sometimes being human hurts, but life shouldn't hurt. LeadingEdgePhysio.com.
Attention drivers, it's the Midwinter Tire Clearance Sale at Fountain Tire. Right now, you can save up to 20% off all in-stock winter tires. That's right, premium brands, unbeatable safety, and incredible savings. But don't wait, this sale ends March 8th. And once they're gone, they're gone. Contact your local Fountain Tire for complete details.
Mr. Rooter travels the world.
Buongiorno, Italy. Nothing beats immersing oneself in another culture. Ooh, look at that. What an intricate design. Huh, wow. What a weird way to turn on the shower. OMG, a dedicated porcelain bidet. Do I try it? Well, when in Rome. Oh my, this beats that robot toilet in Japan.
All plumbing roads lead to Mr. Rooter.
Introducing the new McSpicy from McDonald's. It looks like a regular chicken sandwich, but it's actually a spicy chicken sandwich. McSpicy. Consider yourself warned. Limited time only. Participate in McDonald's in Canada.
Are you tired of waking up tired? Are you tossing and turning all night and stiff and sore the next morning? If your sleep is suffering, it's time to visit the Brick Mattress Store. Their sleep experts will help you find the right support for a restful night's sleep. Back sleeper, side sleeper, hot or cold, there is a perfect mattress for you. Plus, with next day delivery, your best night's sleep could be tomorrow. Check out the Brick Mattress Store locations in Spruce Grove, South Edmonton, St. Albert, and Leduc, and start waking up refreshed.
From the casinos of Vegas to the bingo halls of Leduc, everybody wants a piece of Lady Luck. And what thanks do I get? It's like I don't even...
There's no such thing as luck. If you gamble, use your game sense. Visit GameSenseAB.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Crystal Glass, your clear choice for residential windows, locally manufactured and installed. Crystal Glass provides a beautiful product and incredible customer services for all of your residential needs. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca for a quote.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Just after 3 o'clock. Welcome back, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, sports1440.ca, as well as the app for Radio Player, Stingray, and iHeartRadio. Thanks, as always, for joining us. Man, the text line is humming, 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. We can get to lots of the texts regarding the orders and more. Hey, guys, you can always text us in our email inbox, 833-401-1440. As we go here, hey, Gregor, it's always felt from the start that Kane hasn't been cooperative with the orders. Even Bowman is tiptoeing around the question, not understanding where he's at. Makes one think it actually feels legit. Kane is being difficult and holding all the power. He hasn't acted well towards the team since Knobloch didn't dress him in the Cup final for Mike. Well, he couldn't play in the Cup final, Mike, right? Remember, he played the one game. He couldn't play, right? He admitted it. He had too much pain. So I don't think that's it. Bowman said they don't know exactly, because you don't officially know. Well, we know he had surgery. That's what they know, right? And then he had the second minor surgery. And so that delayed his return a bit. Now he's back skating. But back skating at 60% is actually a long ways away from being ready to go in the NHL. So is he ready to go April 1st? Is he ready to go April 10th? Is it the 20th? Nobody really knows. You can guess, right? But they don't truly know. And what if the player, because here's the truth, right? Evander Kane's been moved out of different organizations for, you know what? And at times, players wanted him out of the room. That's not me making up stories. That's just the truth. Players have talked about it. Okay. So now maybe he's changed his ways. Guys grow up, it happens. But because that's happened in the past, you're like, does he beat to his own drum? So is there some slight worry that maybe he would? Possibly. I'd be shocked. Like, is Evander Kane going to come out and say, I'm healthy, it's April 4th, and they're not playing me? Like, seriously? I guess he could, but it would be strange to me. I've had multiple sources tell me, like, there is zero chance he's playing in March. So that leaves you 17 days of April. And you can even make the argument it really only leaves you 10 days because legally, by the book, in the NHL rule book, a guy who's been on LTIR as long as Kane can go on a conditioning stint to the American League and not count on your roster. Usually, if you go on a conditioning stint, you count on the roster. But when you're on LTIR, you can't go on a conditioning stint. It's a clause in the rule book, totally legal. You could do it. So we're coming down to a 10-day window. Anybody out there who's rehabbed any sort of injury, if Connor Halley has knee surgery and Declan Kruger has knee surgery and Jason Gregor has knee surgery, and the doc says it's 6 months, it doesn't mean we're already right at 6 months. One of us might be at 5 months and 3 weeks. One might be at 6 months. One might be at 6.5. You don't know. So Bowman's being cautious, sure. At the end of the day, to me, you can't not make a move because of, the 10-day window. And then in that 10-day window, Kane's going to yell at everybody, I'm 100% healthy. I'm ready to go. Because keep in mind, healthy doesn't mean you're ready to play and impact the game positively. They're two very different things. So, and players always think they're healthy, right? Doctor's like, yeah, you know what? You need another week. No, I'm ready to go. I get it. He hasn't played since June. He's probably, going to be frothing at the mouth to play. This is what he wants to do. So I understand it. But I don't know. I would hope you're not being held prisoner because of that. Well, geez, just in case. Like, I don't know. That's a pretty big what if moment. I don't like living what ifs. But that's just me. I don't like to live what ifs in my daily life. Well, what if this happens? Because most of the time, when people use a what if, it's normally the worst case scenario. Right? It's never the what if, the best case scenario, or even a positive scenario. It's usually a negative scenario. So I try not to do it. Hey, guys, you think Nugent, the guy's feeling some heat? He's been off his game all season. Yeah, Nugent Hopkins kind of is what he is. Right? He'll score you 55 points. Make good play. He's not going to wow you very often. There's not a lot of wow factor in his game, and that's not a bad thing. There's not a lot of guys who have wow factor in their game. he went through a stretch where he didn't play well, and then he actually had a stretch recently here where he started popping off some goals 5-on-5. So like he's still going to score you 20-some goals this year. Like I don't really think Nugent Hopkins feeling that much heat. If for me anyway. Others might see different, but I don't know. Guys, clearly McDavid is injured. Why wouldn't they sit him down? Mark in St. Albert. I don't know, like, what's his injury? When we say he's clearly injured, with what? Does he have a hangnail? Does he have a slight shoulder sprain? I don't know. I haven't seen him. Like, I know he missed a practice the other day, and everyone's like, oh, he must be injured. No, he just played 3 games in 4 days, and he came back from winning. He's probably out late celebrating, as he should have been. So he had a day off. I know when McDavid doesn't wow everybody just assumes he's injured. And I know why. Because you'd rather think he's injured than maybe he's not invincible. So he could be injured. It's fair. But what if he isn't? Then what? Right? Maybe he's just having a funk. Players have funks. Even Connor McDavid. Hey, Greg, did you see that Kyprios is saying the orders are in on Jordan Binnington? Yeah, I saw it. Now, around trade deadline, we hear a lot of in-ons that never become actuals. And so what does being in-on mean? Does it mean Stan Bowman had a conversation with the GM of St. Louis Blues? Okay, but it's trade deadline time. Stan Bowman's not doing his job if he's not calling every GM to find out where they're at. Which guys are available? What are you thinking? Would you move this guy? Would you move that guy? Right? So if you have a conversation that says, okay, like, would you move Binnington? Yeah, all right. Okay, so now it doesn't mean you made an offer. It doesn't mean you will make an offer. It just means you're doing your due diligence as the GM. And we've had many GMs on the show, former GMs, and they talked about it like, that's your job. Leading up to the trade deadline, if you're not now, I don't think Stan Bowman is going to be talking to Vegas or LA. Right? They're not making trades. Vancouver, probably not. Calgary, yeah, you'll have a conversation, but Calgary's not trading you anyone of significance. They're just not going to. Right? Like there's just certain things. Geez, do we trade to Edmonton to watch a guy hoist the cup and we got a 4th round pick? Probably not doing it. Right? Someone else will give me a 4th, right? So there's certain teams, but the rest of the league, yeah, you're Stan Bowman, you're calling them, and now it's 9 days out, so you let them know, hey, if you're interested in a player or not, let me know. As it gets closer, away you go. Right? The tire kicking starts now. It starts to then become a little bit more like, maybe you pull out the measures. Okay, what's the thickness? What's the depth of this tire now? We're getting a little bit more serious. So when someone says they're in on Binnington, I'm always curious of, like, what does that even mean? You're in on it. Does it mean you had a conversation about who might be available for your team? Did it go to a conversation that said, I would offer you blank, blank, blank? Because those are two different things. Or two very different things. Hey, Greg, I agree with all your points you made about the orders. Bowman can't fix everything. How many moves do you think he can make? I see at least 6 personnel moves it would take to make a big improvement from Doug. Well, Doug, when you say big improvement, you got to be realistic. The Oilers are 6th in the NHL. Like, they're not 6 players away. Like, that's frustration of a 4-game losing streak. Overtaking a rational viewpoint. And that's okay. But 6, they're not 6 players away. And first, you're not going to make 6 moves. Team chemistry, number 1, salary cap, number 2, it's not going to happen. To me, the Edmonton Oilers, I think if they could make 3 moves, you could make 3 impactful moves that are impactful for different reasons. I think it's a must that they find a forward who can play with some edge. I think it's a must. And I'm not talking Reeves. I'm talking a player who contributes, can play 12, 13 minutes at least, and is going to bring some physicality. He's going to bring some energy and, chip in a little bit. That's one. So Trent Frederick, for instance, he would check out a lot of those boxes. There's an example. Then you could get Michael McCarron, fourth line center, 6'6", 230 pounds, 54%, well, 53.9, 53.9% in faceoffs. Kills a lot of penalties. Has way better penalty killing numbers than the older forwards right now. He could fill a void. Now, is he going to be a difference maker in the offensive end of the rink? Probably not. But Edmonton doesn't really need a fourth line center who's a difference maker in the offensive zone. Quick question for you. Do you guys know how many points Kevin Stenlund, the fourth line center for the Florida Panthers, scored last year in the playoffs? Any guesses? Keep in mind, he was their number one penalty killer. Very good on key faceoffs. But do you know how much offense he brought to them last year in the playoffs? He had 1 assist. It doesn't matter. Not every player has to add offense to be successful to your team. He was great at his role on the penalty kill. He had the most penalty kill minutes, and he won a lot of key faceoffs. And he was hard to play. He was only on the ice for 5 goals against in the postseason at 5-on-5. It's pretty solid. You think about that over the course of a year, that's your fourth line guy being on the ice for like 19 goals. You'd be pretty happy about it, right? Because he wasn't going to chip in offense. That wasn't his role. So I don't need people, but because I got text, well, Gregor, they need a fourth line center who scores. Why? Why do they need a fourth line center who scores? If he chips in the odd goal, great. It's not the necessity of their fourth line center. If they got a fourth line center who can win faceoffs, who is big, who can kill penalties, that's what they need. They don't need a guy who scores. The Oilers are fourth in goals in the league. They don't need a fourth line center who scores goals. All right? Now, it's great if you could get Jake Evans, but even if you get Jake Evans, if he chips in a goal or two, great. I don't need him to score a lot. I need him to prevent goals. I need him to kill some penalties. I need him to add some bite. That's what I would need. If I'm the GM, that's what I'm looking for. Because right now, the Oilers, they have lots of goals. They're not lacking in goals, people. Do they lack in grit? 100%. Do they lack in physicality? 100%. Do they lack in some penalty killers who can actually kill penalties? Yes, they do. So I look, find the things they don't have. They have enough goals. They do. They score enough. You want them to reduce goals. So start on the penalty kill. That would be nice. A little bit 5-on-5, sure. But how about some physicality and some grit? Like, did anybody even have a hit last night, Connor? Now, I know it said on the screen that the Oilers had more hits, and I'm like, where? Who is charging the hits? Like, were any of them significant? None of them were like Cons, you'd be, we got some emotion here. All of a sudden, Tampa Bay's looking around. Let's get a guy. No. When was the last time that happened? Can you think of it? When was the last time an Oiler player increased the momentum, increased the intensity of the game due to a check? Can you honestly think of the last time?
No. It's been a while.
Right? So you have to have different elements of your team and find different ways to get momentum on your side. When probably the last big hit was McDavid when he came around the boards and ran the guy in front of the Oilers bench. I can't think of another one. So get those type of guys. Stop worrying about a bottom six guy who scores. That's a bonus. Get a bottom six guy who's going to do some of the things that they can't do. And don't have guys who do. That's how I would look at it. Everybody's going to be different, but that's how I look at it. Hey, Gregor, Holloway said his agent forwarded the offer sheet to the Oilers and they never heard back. Well, I don't know. Did Holloway say that? He forwarded the offer sheet. Okay, but the mistake to me was the Oilers before he got the offer sheet. Right? And even then, I still probably would have matched the offer sheet. Me personally. Because Holloway was a young kid who you developed, who was fast and had potential. Now, I don't know if he's in Edmonton, if he would have scored as much as he was in St. Louis. You know, there's different situations, confidence, whatever. You know, I get it. So they might know. But do I think Dylan Holloway was trending to be a guy who could score you at least 35 points? Yes, I do. And so to me, on a team that didn't have a lot of youth, that's why I wouldn't have matched Broberg. Even if Broberg's going to be okay, I wouldn't have matched him because of their left defense and the salary he was asking. I wouldn't have done it. But Holloway, I would have. But you probably, if you would have offered him 1.9 or 2 even before July 1st, I think he would have signed it. So I think they made an error there, and that's fine. Teams make errors. Lots of teams make errors. It happens. And you can still be a good team. But then you've got to make other moves. And right now, for me, the Oilers, they got to make other moves. So, hey, guys, was casting the last checker who could add momentum, Josh? No, I think Evander Kane. Right? Even Dylan Holloway at times would make, just because his speed, he'd get in there, right? Warren Fogle a bit, not a lot. They don't even have the speed right now to get in. Like, Connor Brown skates fast and doesn't hit anybody. Right? And he never has, so that's fine. But they need some guys, and they don't even have to be fast. Trent Frederick's not as fast as Connor Brown, but he hits infinitely more. Right? That's in his game. That's what they need. So, honestly, I think it was the McDavid hit on LA. Thank you, Ray. That's the game. That's it. Hey, Greggs, what about Lawson Krause? Utah's not changing Lawson Krause. Shanked one. If they were, the Oilers would have huge interest. But look at Utah, actually. Like, it's Chicago, so I'll temper it, but still, they absolutely dominated them last night. And Utah is only 3 points behind Calgary for a playoff spot. Utah is not, they're not moving guys out. I think Utah is going to look to add guys. Don't be surprised to see them take a big swing here. They got a very aggressive owner. They got boatloads of cap space. And I don't know if there's a team that has more prospects and picks than Utah. So I think they're looking to add, not subtract. Tyler Yaremchuk will join us next on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Keep the text line coming, 833-401-1440.
A premier hockey solution with a clear path for long-term development is proud to be entering its 8th season of independent borderless hockey, featuring provincial and cross-province competition with showcase-style regular season gameplay and a strong commitment to individual skill development. It's an attractive option for those seeking family life balance. The Hockey Super League offers opportunities for both male and female athletes born between 2012 and 2017. Visit hockeysuperleague.com for more information.
Play Alberta has hundreds of casino games right at your fingertip. Join thousands discovering why Fortune Coin is one of Alberta's most popular games. Fill your reels with golden coins, multiply your prizes up to 6 times, and turn good spins into legendary ones. Land the Fortune Coin symbol to win cash, trigger the jackpot, launch the free spins bonus, and watch as the dragon takes over your screen. New players get 100 free spins only on playalberta.ca. Claim your offer today. Play Alberta has hundreds of casino games right at your fingertip. Join thousands discovering why Fortune Coin is one of Alberta's most popular games. Fill your reels with golden coins, multiply your prizes up to 6 times, and turn good spins into legendary ones. Land the Fortune Coin symbol to win cash, trigger the jackpot, launch the free spins bonus, and watch as the dragon takes over your screen. New players get 100 free spins only on playalberta.ca. Claim your offer today.
You've probably heard the word rehab before, but when GS Construction talks about rehab, we mean bringing aging infrastructure back to life. Water and sewer systems that keep our communities flowing. GS Construction needs skilled pros who know how to get it done safely and efficiently, and that's why we're hiring. If you're a foreman or a pipe layer, apply to a company that's building for Edmonton and area for 2025. Join a team that's as solid as the infrastructure we restore. Visit gsconstruction.ca and join our crew today.
Introducing the new McSpicy from McDonald's. It looks like a regular chicken sandwich, but it's actually a spicy chicken sandwich. McSpicy. Consider yourself warned. Limited time only. Participate in McDonald's in Canada.
The Edmonton Firefighters Rooftop Campout for Muscular Dystrophy is happening now. Edmonton firefighters are again braving the elements by camping on the roof of Fire Hall number 2. But this year, they've decided to add a little twist and will be starting the rooftop campout with no camping equipment. The more money they raise for muscular dystrophy, the more equipment they'll get to survive an Edmonton winter, with the final goal of getting off the roof and helping this incredible cause. Donations can be made now at any Edmonton Fire Hall or online at edmontonrooftopcampout.ca.
90 days? You're telling me I can buy a 2024 or 2025 Buick or GMC from Wolf GMC Buick and make no payments for 90 days? Whoa. And you're telling me there's more? It's the final days of GMC's employee pricing on remaining 2024 Sierra HDs and Yukons? Clearly now is the time to buy a new vehicle. I'm heading to Wolf GMC Buick, corner of 184th Street and Stony Plain Road. It's mere seconds east of the Anthony Henday.
Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy.
On your feet all day? Don't worry. Timberland Pro work boots have your back and your feet. With built-in anti-fatigue technology, they cushion every step and keep you energized from clock in to clock out.
Find the largest selection of Timberland Pro at Job Site Workwear. Proudly Edmonton owned and operated for 20 years.
Job Site Workwear, tough different jobs.
From the casinos of Vegas to the bingo halls of Leduc, everybody wants a piece of Lady Luck. And what thanks do I get? It's like I don't even...
There's no such thing as luck. If you gamble, use your game sense. Visit GameSenseAB.ca.
The temperature has dropped, and so have our prices. Join us at Vision RV now through Sunday for our free indoor sale. During this massive event, you'll save up to 30% off your new RV with no payments for 6 months OAC. Trailers for just $12,900. Over 200 RVs in stock, 40 units indoors, so you can shop in comfort. We're clearing them out to make room for spring inventory to beat the tariffs. So don't miss these deals now through Sunday here at Vision RV, south of the Yellowhead on Highway 60.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. Use promo code Gregor and get 20% off your order all day, every day. That's promo code Gregor before entering your order at papajohns.ca.
Hat tricks, touchdowns, and home runs. Get it all with the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
$327, welcome back. I always like people have a sense of humor. Big Sam texts in. Hey guys, we just need to find a trade partner that's looking for smaller, older, underperforming, injury-prone players. Shouldn't be a problem. Well done, Sam. Well done. Yes. Hey, you got some guys right now who, hey, people, hey, do you think the Oilers would be open to moving Arvidsson? Yeah. Why wouldn't you be? But does Victor Arvidsson have any trade value right now? He's got another year left at $4 million. And he's got 6 goals. Or maybe he's got 7. I should look. He might have a power play goal, but I don't see him having much trade value at this point. You got to hope that he just figures out a way and finds his game. He's got 7 goals, 1 on the power play. So, he's on pace for in a full season. If it was 82 games, he'd be at 36 points. It's not good. And right now, he might fall down more often and get a shot on goal. Kind of nuts. Let's get to the oil report brought to you by Volvo Cars. Edmonton, 13-time award winner in excellence in sales and service. They got great vehicles, but their service, not only after you get your vehicles, really what sets them apart. Just fantastic in how they treat their customers. Volvo Cars, Edmonton.com. Stop in. If you're looking, hey, the weather's great. Now's a good time to test drive it. Stop in, ask for Jordy. He'll hook you up. As we welcome to the show from Oilers Nation and Daily Faceoff, Tyler Yaremchuk. Ty, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Greg's doing good. Spicy fan base right now, though.
Well, they should be. The Oilers are playing like dog dung right now. You can't sugarcoat it. And to me, the issues with the Oilers that are at the top right now have been issues that were simmering under all season. They haven't had any energetic guys all year long. That hasn't changed. They're not an overly quick forward group. That hasn't changed. Their penalty kill, while it did have a stretch, it was good, is still awful at 27th overall at 73% on the season. So, they're, even when they were winning all those games, scoring chances, odd man rushes off the rush, 27th, 24th in the NHL. Those issues have all been here for months. It's just now the other elements of their game aren't covering them up. And it's hey, so I think Stan Bowman, you would hope, he's known for a while, at least I would think, of what the weaknesses are of the team. And now he's got 9 days to address some of them. He can't fix everything, and I don't think they're all massive, but he's got to fix some of them.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you can't address them all. In an ideal world, if Evander Kane is out until the first game of the playoffs, then you have $5.1 million. But if you can't operate that way, you're back to the old, and I roll my eyes saying this line, but dollar in, dollar out. And people who are sitting there and going, Binnington, Gibson, all this stuff, it's okay, if you are agreeing that you need to go out and get a Binnington or a Gibson, and you're going to use all your cap space and whatever little assets you have set aside for this deadline, if you're going to do that, then you are committing to having John Klingberg in your top 4 come night 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, assuming everybody's healthy. To me, again, if you have space for one move, I think the goaltending conversation, I mean, it's taken on a life of its own, and some people just seem to think they have no shot at winning in the playoffs with these two goalies. I still lean more towards the blue line. Like, if you can make one move, I think it has to be someone on the blue line, because in net, again, you can point to sample sizes last year where those two guys did the job. The forward group, you can look at it on paper and go, okay, maybe it's a mid-season malaise, whatever's going on with them. There is enough talent there to figure it out. I don't say either of those two things when I look at the way this blue line is playing right now. I think they need to get someone to play with Darnell Nurse.
Look, and so yesterday this was brought up. Would you trade, when you consider salary cap, age, everything else, Binnington and Parayko for Bouchard and Skinner?
No, I wouldn't at all. I mean, you got to, again, you're saying factor in the salary cap here. Let's say Evan Bouchard gets an $8 million deal here, and him and Skinner next season are 10.6 on the cap, and I need to sign up for 12 point something of Parayko and Binnington, who are both in their 30s at this point. I'm not trading again. No, that's a really, really easy no for me. I'm not trading two guys in their 20s who still have, I believe, upside for two guys who are vets whose careers in all likelihood are on the decline. Their best hockey should be behind them now, or at least they won't get any better. So no, I'm not even coming close to doing that deal.
Yeah, I didn't think it was I was just curious. I always like to ask people what their thoughts when something comes up. Now, Nick Kiprose put out today that the Oilers are in on Binnington, which I don't know what in on means. Would you have a conversation? Maybe, hey, what would you be looking for Jordan Binnington? Now, because Jordan Binnington, hey, if you're the St. Louis Blues and you're the GM, of course, now's the time to be calling everybody. He just had a great game, who had an unreal overtime and the biggest game of the season this year. The final of the Four Nations was the biggest game this year. Obviously, there'll be bigger games when you get to the playoffs. And so people are like, oh my God, Jordan Binnington, he comes up at the big time. But he did allow a leaky goal in those other games, for sure. And, his numbers haven't been, out of this world. As Kevin Woodley put out, he goes, if you're looking just at numbers and you compare Binnington to Skinner over the last few years, they're basically the same. Now, it goes, environment's different, everything else. He said the one thing that Binnington has at times is he can elevate his game at key moments. Right now, Skinner did that in Game 6 against Dallas. Maybe doesn't have as much of a track record, but he did it at times in the playoffs last year. I think he had there was like 9 games. I think it was Miss Shaika who had it out there. There was 9 playoff games where a goalie had, 2.5 goals saved above expected, and Skinner had 3 of those games. So he has shown actually he can do it. He's struggling right now, but would you have any interest in Binnington for the Oilers?
I would, and just because, again, you do have Stuart Skinner for one more year on this great contract, so the idea of like next season 8.6 for Binnington and Skinner, that's not bad to have a duo like that at all. The one thing that does make me chuckle with Binnington, like you mentioned his play before the final in the Four Nations, like if he doesn't make one of those 3 saves in overtime, if one of them goes in, no one's talking about Jordan Binnington right now, are they? Like, if they lose that game in overtime instead of the 3 spectacular saves, which I know is revisionist history and it's whatever, but if he lets in one of those goals, the narrative around Jordan Binnington is not, wow, what a big game goalie who comes through in the big moment. The narrative is, cannot believe John Cooper kept playing him, because that was the talk going into the game. That was the talk going into the Finland game, was like, I can't believe John Cooper is putting this guy out there again when he's been average. And that's really how I view Binnington. He's average. Like you said, with Woodley, he has the ability to elevate himself, and that's great. So in a 1A, 1B combo, I like that, but I'm not tripping over myself to go acquire a guy that a summer ago we were hearing the Blues just wanted someone to take his contract from them. Like, again, goaltending is fickle. John Gibson right now is viewed as some golden boy by most of the fan base. It's been 5 years since he finished with a save percentage above .905. And you can sit there and say, well, he's playing on a bottom feeder in Anaheim. What do you expect? Okay, well, Mackenzie Blackwood put up great numbers with the San Jose Sharks. Sometimes when you're on a bottom feeder, you face 40 shots a game. Your save percentage still shouldn't be that bad. So I don't know. I'm not in love with either of them. I think I actually kind of like Binnington more than Gibson, but I just still view it as unrealistic that they're going to find a way to make this work. And even if they do, and they give all the goalie people what they want, and it's Binnington and net come March 8th when the deadline's done, you still have a blue line that I don't think is good enough.
That's fair. The second pair right D that they tried Klingberg. Now they might say, hey, we want more games, but the problem is, what if in 20 more games he still isn't there? Now that's the risk, because even when you sign him, I don't think it was realistic to think you would find out the answer before the trade deadline. The guy being out for 15 months, he wasn't going. It's unfair to think, in 7 games, I'll know exactly what he is, right? Like that's not realistic. So we'll see if they have another plan on defense. To me, I need 2 energetic forwards, and one of them is a right shot center who can win some faceoffs, kill some penalties, and then the other one's a winger with robust. For me, McCarron / Evans. Now, Evans is a better player, I think, overall, but he's going to cost you a lot more and is only a UFA. I don't think he'll resign because he'll want a big ticket. Whereas McCarron, you could have come back next year at $900K. So I actually like that better. And then Trent Frederick is the guy. I look at wingers, I'd be all over. Now, if I could go get Brock Nelson, I would do that, but I think that's a pipe dream.
Yeah, I think Nelson or anything like that, I agree with you. A bit of a pipe dream. I don't love Michael McCarron. He just doesn't, again, this team, I think, needs to still find ways to score when 97 and 29 aren't on the ice, and McCarron doesn't do enough of that. I looked him up on NHL Edge, and I mean, I've watched him play a few times this year when the Oil play Nashville. He never really stood out to me, and then you look at him on NHL Edge, and his skating numbers are like the same as Derek Ryan's. So I'm like, oh, God, I don't know if I want to sign up for that guy in my bottom 6. I love the idea of Evans, but I think the cost is going to be high. I really, really like Trent Frederick. I like him more as a winger than a centerman just because he can't really win faceoffs. But still, I think he's a guy who would add energy and scoring to your bottom 6. If they're going the forward route, Trent Frederick is right up there, number 1 on my list. But still, for me, blue line, I'm looking at like an Alexiak, or I'm crossing my fingers and hoping Boston does something stupid and maybe that you can be convinced to trade on a guy like Carlo, maybe Montreal with a Matheson. Like, I'm okay with giving up serious assets at this deadline, but I think it needs to be for someone who, if you're trading the 2026 first rounder, because that's kind of the only first round pick they have in the next 2 years to move. If you're moving that pick, I think you need to be able to sit here next February and go, okay, we don't have our first round pick to move at the deadline, but we have this guy still in our lineup.
Do you think Kevin Stenlund helped Florida last year?
I think he did, but I don't know if I would call him like a difference maker. Like, he created energy, and that is good. I think there's a ton of value in that. But again, like Frank said, the ask for a guy like McCarron is a second round pick. I'm not coming anywhere close to paying a second round pick for Michael McCarron.
So the reason I say it, because I don't care if McCarron scores 1 goal in the playoffs. That's not what his role is. So Kevin Stenlund, by the way, actually slower skater than McCarron, if you go to NHL Edge. Big bodies, huge guys. Kevin Stenlund had 1 assist last year in the playoffs for Florida. He was their leading penalty killer and won huge faceoffs. That's what his role. The Oilers don't need other guys to score that much. They simply don't. Offense, they're 4th in the NHL. Despite having no second-line winger scoring, they're still 4th in the NHL. Goal scoring is the least of their worries for me overall. I look at guys, they have no energy. They have no size. They don't have a right shot center, and they don't have a right shot center who can kill penalties and win faceoffs. And McCarron, here's some penalty kill numbers for you. He's played 104 penalty kill minutes in Nashville. He's been on for 11 goals against. You look at the Oilers' top 4 forwards penalty killers. Brown and Janmark have been on for 17 goals in 80 minutes. Nugent Hopkins been on for 13 and 90 minutes. And then Henrique's the only guy lower than McCarron. He's at 9 and 90. So his goal per 60 rate's basically the same. But McCarron wins faceoffs. He kills penalties. He's physical. I don't care if he adds much offense, to be honest, because he brings things that right now the Oilers' penalty kill is terrible. And I'm tired of hearing, well, Janmark and Brown are on the penalty kill. Yeah, and it stinks. So they have to look at some things they don't have. And right now, well, it would be great to get a scoring winger. I agree. They have enough goals. They don't have any energy. They don't have any penalty killers that are working right now, and they don't have a right shot center. So I would look at those things first. And if you have room left and then can get a score, that's what I would do.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I just think, again, a guy like Trent Frederick can probably do a little bit of all of that. And if the cost is, the same, equal, even if it's a little bit more for Frederick, I'm paying a little bit more to get a guy who can kill and who can play center or the wing and who brings me a little bit of offense. Now, again, I don't love the fact he'd be a pure rental because I would imagine he wants to get a pretty significant raise this summer. And I doubt the Oilers would be in a position where they can pay it. But, and the other thing too, like this penalty kill, these guys were all here when it went on that run during the playoffs last year. Like, that's the other side of it, is like, what's happened? Because I don't know, how much of the penalty killing struggles do you put on the goaltending? They're the 4th worst PK save percentage in the NHL. Like, if the goalies make some saves, do we view the penalty kill a little bit differently?
Well, there's no Cody Ceci here. You talked about right? There's no Vinny Desharnais. Like, I think guys closer to the net. Like, it's funny, and I kept telling people, you all get so upset about Cody Ceci until he's gone, and all the little things he does well right? Yeah, sure, he turns a puck over now and then. He doesn't pass it on your tape all the time, but he was really good on the penalty kill. And then, by the way, not many depth guys scored bigger goals in Game 7s than Cody Ceci. So I just think the Oilers, their penalty kill, like look at their second unit penalty kill right now. So you have Nurse, right? You have Emberson and Ekholm, and they were great for a stretch. Now they're getting lit up. But Nurse, like him and Kulak, it hasn't worked as well for whatever reasons. But, goaltending's part of it for sure. But to me, this penalty kill, like I could never enter the playoffs thinking they're going to be 94% again. Like it was an anomaly to be that. Like they were -1 in 25 games in the playoff. -1 on the penalty kill. Like it's unreal. Like it's just not going to happen again. They have to know going into the playoffs their penalty kill won't be that good because it's virtually impossible to be that good again.
If you're going to talk though about, hey, Ceci, Desharnais, the guys they miss on the PK, then go get Jamie Alexiak. 6'7", size, kills a ton with the Seattle Kraken. Like that guy will help you on the PK. That guy will make life easier for your goaltenders.
Do you think? Well, what could they offer? That's the other thing, right? Like, what's Edmonton going to offer? So I don't think they want to trade Matt Savoy because they don't have a lot of. But I guess it depends on who you get. Then they got Bo Akey, you got O'Reilly, and then you got a 2026 first rounder. Like that's really it.
Yeah, I think, and I'd have to dig into some trade comparables probably, but I mean, Alexiak is a good but not great defenseman. Seattle's in a spot where they presumably want to stack up futures and at some point do a little rebuild correctly. The 2026 first might be enough. You may have to throw in something else. But again, if you're taking on the salary at full board, then I think the 2026 first should be enough for a guy like Alexiak. I'm trying to think of, the Kulak deal, he was a rental. He didn't have the term. That was a second Lagesson and another pick in there, I believe. So again, to get a guy with one more year to go from a second to a first, I don't know, maybe you're throwing whatever. What's the equivalent of Will Lagesson? Phil Kemp? Throwing a Phil Kemp in a first round pick so you can get Jamie Alexiak.
Well, you got Lagesson in a second for Brett Kulak, and Brett Kulak's done really well for Edmonton. What his price point is and everything has been a really good addition. No question. I just think Stan Bowman, I think he's got to make 3 moves. And I know all the Oilers will know by the weekend. I've heard they'll know by March 1st. Like Evander Kane, here's what I know. He skated, he's skating again today, or he's probably already skated today. They skate in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? When he skated last week, it was 60%. He's not going to be at 80 this week, right? Like it's not that quick of a progression. I was told by multiple people, he's not playing in March. So there's really a 10-day window that you're leery of. And I think there's people making way too much of this 10-day window. I'm banking on it. And I'll be like, I'll have a conversation with Evander Kane behind closed doors. Like, you're not saying anything. I don't care if you think you're ready on April 3rd. You can say you're ready on April 10th. Good? Great. Zip it. End of discussion. Like, I don't think it's that hard of a discussion to have.
And that's exactly, I had Frank on my show today, and that's exactly what I said to him. I was like, forget the doctors. Leave the doctors out of it. Sit down Evander Kane and say, we have a chance to add this player. You do not get to play in the regular season. Are you playing ball with us? Yes or no? And actually, because Frank kind of pushed back and said, you're dealing with Evander Kane here. This might be the one guy who's enough of a wild card in the NHL to put his hand up on April 1st and say, actually, I do want to play. And someone in the chat had a really good line. They go, just do what New York did with Trouba and say, Evander, if you come back in April, you are on waivers and the Blue Jackets are picking your behind up. So you're out till the playoffs.
Yeah, well, that would be funny. Put him on waivers. No one probably take him, but he does have a year left. Maybe a team would be like, "Hey, we get this guy for free." So yeah, you're right. You could do that because he has his no movement becomes a no trade, which means now he is eligible for waivers. So you're right. It's to me, I think way too much is being made of this Evander Kane thing. First of all, I don't think Kane's going to be rushing back to play in regular season game. He's played hurt for the last 6 months. He played hurt. Why would he do it again? It makes no sense.
Yeah, and again, if he really wants to get his conditioning up or whatever, there's the option for him to go to Bakersfield. I know that involves approvals and whatnot, but you're right. Evander Kane playing hurt for as long as he did, it should be a very easy sell to go to him and say, hey, we have a chance to get this player. He is going to help us win the Stanley Cup. Are you down to play ball? And that's the answer you need by March 1st, not the doctor timeline, how close is he, whatever. You need to sit down with Evander Kane and do what the Golden Knights do and do what the Lightning did. And it's, you good to play ball? Yes. All right, now let's move. Because you need that money if you're going to make the 2 to 3 moves like you're talking about. If you don't have it, then there's no way you can make 2-3 moves.
Ty, going to be interesting. 9 days to see what the orders do, but I fully expect them to use Kane's LTIR money. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, as do I, Greg's.
Yeah. Have a good one, my man.
Yep.
See you tomorrow.
Yep.
It's Tyler Yaremchuk from Motors Nation and Daily Face Off. We'll return. We're going to talk about something that doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's very important for athletes and all the rest of us. Next on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Bringing every project to life requires the right team. By joining the Japa Machinery Group service or sales teams, you can be part of setting a new industry standard. Celebrating a legacy of excellence with Japa. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
You've got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk, elevate your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Noodle, 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 noodle. Noodle, 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 noodle. Noodle, 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 noodle.
Troll down to Oodle Noodle tonight because dine-in is open. Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m.
Is it Riverside Motorsports? No. It's Riverside Motorsports. Over 55 years in business, and people still get it wrong. Guess it's time to get it right.
Riverside Motorsports. What you do for fun is our business.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
When you wash, get the Works. The Works Car and Truck Wash is now open in Wetaskiwin. With 8 self-serve bays, you'll never have to wait in line. This isn't your typical gas station car wash. Choose from soft touch or touchless automatic washes. Plus, big trucks are welcome in the oversized highway truck bay. Use code SPORTS1440 when you purchase a wash card, and you'll receive a 15% bonus. Cannot be combined with other offers or promotions. When you wash, get the Works. Visit theworkswash.ca or follow them on Instagram and Facebook.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Cantork. We offer sale, rental, repair, and calibration of hydraulic, pneumatic, and battery-powered torque wrenches, stud tensioners, and flange maintenance equipment. Order today at cantork.com.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Can you send me your line? Do you have your liner sheet? No, I can grab one for you. Yeah, can you grab me one for leading edge? Oh, it's a classic song. Woo! Little Billy Ocean. I like it. Welcome back, Gregor Show. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X, as it's time to get to the injury report brought to you by Leading Edge Physio. Did you know the team in Old Strathcona, they have special training dedicated to reducing the impact of cancer care before, during, and after your diagnosis? From lymphedema to the management of fatigue and side effects of chemotherapy and radiation, they can help. Learn more at leadingedgephysio.com. As Grant Fedoruk joins us once again. Grant, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Jason?
I am excellent. Today, I want to talk about something that is super vital, but we don't really touch on it a whole bunch in athletics, but it's really kind of the base of the foundation, our feet. And I know there's lots of bones and, guys will have broken bones in their foot sometimes because there's so many of them, but really I want to start with the weird one, like the flexibility or range of motion in your toes and how important that is for people, and it probably gets overlooked and why it can lead to issues in your hips and everywhere else.
Yeah, there's no question about it, actually. I always say it's kind of like a tree that's growing. It all starts at the roots. So things from the bottom up make a huge difference, and that includes flexibility and strength, Jason. So, lack of range of motion all the way down to the toes. Most people will think about their ankles, but it can happen right down to the toes. Any lack of flexibility in through there can play a role. So you're not wrong. I love talking about the feet. So many things can go wrong with the feet, though.
Yeah, like now arches. People will say we got text already. What about are flat arches as bad as everybody says?
So in the foot, we've got a few different things that can happen. I mean, there's a lot, but when you've got flat feet, what we call that is overpronation. What's happening in there is the ligaments that support the joints, the ligaments that support and hold the bones together, typically with somebody who's got what's called pes planus or flat feet, those are really lax, they're loose. So that kind of foot, it's very resilient, but also at the same time, because it's got a lot of flexibility naturally, but at the same time, it doesn't have a lot of, it's not as effective as a lever because it's so loose. And so it's inefficient. So over time, that thing that you got away with for a long period of time because of its flexibility will start to break down because of its inefficiency, and you'll have problems with that. On the other side are the high arches, pes cavus. Now, those are extremely efficient. You've got a very rigid lever, very effective at propelling you. However, because it's so rigid, they'll break down sooner. So people with high arches tend to have earlier problems. People who have flat feet, they often show up later on.
Okay. So if you look at, flat feet is one that the issue. Now we talked about, the toes and mobility and stuff like that. But what are some of the main problems that get overlooked in feet that people are unaware of, and why that might be leading to hip and knee issues?
Well, I think we touched on two very important ones, actually, and that's the very structure of the foot, but the function as well. So in that you can have a flat foot that somebody sees looks like a pancake when they're walking. You can have functional overpronation. That means the muscles aren't firing at the time that they're supposed to get the foot in its most efficient position. And that can lead to all kinds of problems. So we start listing off the problems that come from structural or functional problems in the foot, like plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendonitis, peroneal tendonitis, even bunions. Interestingly enough, if you don't have great flexibility and you leave it too long, that can lead to what's called a rigid hallux. The first toe can become very stiff. Now that can happen with arthritis as well, but because of the change in function and lack of flexibility, it can start to draw that toe, your big toe, inward. Now you've only got one kind of area that's rubbing against your shoe or other structures. It builds up a calcification and you end up with a bunion. So it's not just straightforward. It's definitely about having a good balance of strength and flexibility. And it's interesting, Jason, that you bring it up because not enough people talk about it. Now, when you overpronate, so let's just let people picture that for a second, kind of stand up and lean your feet inwards. And what happens to your knees? They start to come inward as well, just a little bit. And so does the hips. So you get an increase in valgus, it's called, at the knee, and Q angle at the hips. And that can lead to problems like IT band dysfunction. It can lead to premature wearing of the joints in your knee on the inside of the knee over the outside of the knee. So we're talking about all kinds of problems as you go up all the way to the lower back.
It's interesting with bunions because some people it's genetic. They have them at a young age, like myself. Other people get it to just as kind of how their body goes. You talked about that rigid and stiffness in their big toe because the big toe is super important, right? It's kind of like the balancer of your feet and stuff. How can you loosen it up? How can you gain more flexibility and range of motion? Is it just that stretch where you curl your toes underneath you and try to sit back when you're like put your knees on the ground and bring your toes up and then sit down on your heels? Or is there other stretches?
Well, that's a good one. One of my favorite ones, and this is very effective for people with plantar fasciitis because the plantar fascia on the bottom spreads out across the bottom toes. But you also have something called flexor hallucis longus. It's a tendon that goes along the bottom of the toe, right to the end of the big toe. I love big words because they make me sound smart, but I'm going to tell you how to stretch it. So basically what you're going to do is cross your leg over the other leg, grab with your whole palm past all of your toes and pull your ankle back towards you and your toes all at the same time. And
So
you're
I'm
gonna
sitting down, or am I like on
yeah,
the ground?
Yeah, you're gonna sit down. I can't demonstrate for people because we're on the radio. So sitting down, cross your leg over. You could be sitting on the floor, and you're gonna cross your leg over your knee if you can. You're gonna grab behind your big toe with your whole palm and pull all your toes and your big toe and ankle towards your shin all at the same time. And where you're going to feel that mostly is actually right underneath your big toe. It's a very common one. It works very well for treating different problems, including plantar fasciitis. In fact, the studies have shown it's one of the few stretches that actually makes a big difference with plantar fasciitis.
Really? Okay.
You betcha.
Now, with plantar fasciitis, do you recommend rolling on a ball?
I do. I find that foam rollers and using a ball or even a frozen bottle of ice, especially if it's very acute. So all different parts of plantar fasciitis, it all depends on what stage you're at. So when it's really acute, meaning it's inflamed, it's as soon as you stand up, even when you're sitting, it can also hurt you. But you get up, the first second you stand on it, you can barely put weight on your heel. That's pretty acute inflammation. If you take a frozen, like a bottle of water, just a normal drinking bottle of water that you would grab, like the plastic one, throw it in the freezer, it forms the perfect roll for underneath your arch. And you can use that for 4 or 5 minutes, just rolling it back and forth, getting a stretch, but also getting ice to that tissue to reduce the inflammation. Later on, as we get into the more subacute and chronic stages, that's when we're going to start to put more force through the arch with a ball or something more firm. But what I don't recommend in the acute or subacute stage is standing off of the edge of a stair. People do it all the time, and it's the number one thing I get them to stop. And they usually get better just from me stopping them from doing that because they're putting so much stress on the plantar fascia, especially in that inflamed stage. It's got a lot of difficulty healing when you're putting that amount of force through it.
Grant Fedork from Leading Edge Physio joins. We're talking about feet, and what is maybe the most overlooked thing we can do just to maintain healthy feet that we're not doing the average person?
Well, most people don't pay close enough attention to their footwear. It's a fashion thing, it's the number one thing I see people walk in. And this is not judging women, but women in high heels. If you ever actually look at an x-ray of a woman's foot in a high heel, you'd wonder why they ever wear it. It literally looks like you're standing on the neck of a giraffe. So it's very important to pay attention to your footwear. And this is men too. Men are fashion, and you see them. They're wearing old Nike kicks that are from who knows when. They're vintage shoes. They've got no support whatsoever. Not to say that those shoes aren't good and when they're up to date and new, they play a very vital role. Changing your running shoe, people who are actively on their feet and putting a lot of miles on them, they should be changing their running shoe every 3 months, sometimes even sooner. And most people, they say that's just when they started getting comfortable, but they've lost their effectiveness. And then everybody asks me about how about barefoot running and that sort of a thing? Doesn't it make you stronger? And the answer is, well, once your foot is accommodated to a certain style of shoe and things that we've done over our lifestyle. And in Canada, we're not going barefoot in the winter. So it's not like we're born on bare feet. So our feet haven't developed the same way. So trying to switch at mid-age is probably not the greatest idea. And in fact, I actually think that running shoes and very good, proper footwear plays a huge role in preventing problems. I treat tons of people who just go start walking barefoot on the beach or literally just go on a holiday and they go barefoot everywhere and they come back with problems. So even your sandal that you're wearing can make a difference. Make sure you're wearing good ones. Flip-flops are a disaster. I treat way too many people just because they're wearing flip-flops. So if you're one of those people out there and you want to save your trip to a physio clinic, just stop wearing flip-flops right off the bat.
You mentioned, what about orthotics? Good or bad?
It depends on whether you need them or not and why you're going for them. It also comes down to how you're getting or who you're getting them from. So orthotics are very studied. very evidence-based treatment for people with dysfunctions in their feet, including pes planus, that flat foot. It can make a huge difference because a functional orthotic can get your foot into the position it's supposed to be in that proper phase of gait so that it can reduce a lot of problems in the lower kinetic chain. So the number one thing is to make sure that you actually need orthotics first. And there aren't other things you can do, such as strengthening the foot, stretching it. You talked about right off the hop at the beginning of the show, very effective ways to manage foot problems is to get at the foundation of them. I'm going to use all kinds of puns here. But orthotics for somebody with a dysfunctional foot, especially if it's been pes planus, a flat foot for a period of time, getting somebody into a neutral position can make a huge difference for them. And then there's a whole group of people out there who have different problems like diabetes, and orthotics can make a huge difference in reducing the stress on the foot, which can reduce ulcers and pressure sores that can lead to all kinds of problems later on with people with peripheral neuropathy.
Grant, I know you treat a lot. This comes from a texter, Dave, wondering, they tell me to pick up a pencil with my toes. Does that actually work? How often do I have to do it?
Yeah, it's a good exercise for building the intrinsic muscles of the foot, actually. So what I recommend, I like a towel. You put a loose towel on the floor and try to pick it up. Or marbles or things like that. But a pencil, it's going to be pretty tough unless you're on like Berber carpet. So you need something that you can actually grasp. But the act of doing it starts to build up those little muscles in the foot, including that one that I was talking about early on that you also need to stretch, flexor lucis. And it's very good exercise for building up those muscles. Yes. Is it going to solve every problem in the foot? No, it's just one more part when you're dealing with dysfunctions in the foot. You often have to get at the foundation. I said this before. So if you've got an inflammatory problem, you've got to treat the inflammatory problem. And then those exercises can be very effective at preventing it from coming back.
Grant, great stuff, man. As always, we appreciate it. Enjoy California. We'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely, Jason. We'll talk feet many, many times, I'm sure.
There you go. That's Grant Fedork from Leading Edge Physio. And hey, we always talk, in the injuries about, try to preventative stuff, right? It's always easy to talk about how to fix stuff after the fact. Well, what about trying to prevent it? Because then you lessen your chance of injuries. And Grant was the one who said, man, there's so many issues from hips and knees and stuff that start with your feet that maybe we overlook that. So there you go. When we come back, Rich Winter will join us in the Business of Sport after Connor Halley. Sports 1440 update brought to you by Fountain Tire. Stop in right now. The Midwinter Tire event is on the clear out. They get 20% off all in-stock tires, all the big name brands, great deals, great service. FountainTire.com.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
The Edmonton Oilers have claimed defenseman Travis Dermott off waivers from Minnesota. Dermott played 10 games for the Oilers earlier this season and was immediately sent to Bakersfield in the AHL. On the ice tonight, 3 games, sends Jets, Devils in Colorado, and the Kings up against the Canucks in the association. You've got the Toronto Raptors in Indiana taking on the Pacers. Pistons host the Celtics. Knicks taking on the Sixers. Trailblazers meet the Wizards. Heat host the Hawks. Kings in Utah, and the Spurs taking on the Houston Rockets. In the WHL, Edmonton Oil Kings back at it again tonight, taking on the Brandon Wheat Kings. That'll start at 6. You've also got Bonnyville taking on GP in the AJ. That gets going at 7. And in the PWHL, Ottawa taking on New York. Puck drop just after 5 o'clock. Coming up in hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, it's another edition of the Business of Sport with longtime player agent Rich Winter. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, Stingray radio station. CKJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
Japa Machinery Group knows that XCMG may not roll off the tongue, but Japa's team will help keep your construction jobs rolling on time and on budget with heavy equipment sales and rentals. Visit japamachinery.com to find out more.
You've got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Attention drivers, it's the midwinter tire clearance sale at Fountain Tire. Right now, you can save up to 20% off all in-stock winter tires. That's right, premium brands, unbeatable safety, and incredible savings. But don't wait, this sale ends March 8th. And once they're gone, they're gone. Contact your local Fountain Tire for complete details.
Scott McGilvery here, HGTV host and renovation expert. The one upgrade I know homeowners will love, better, fresher Culligan water straight from the tap. Culligan's Aquasential reverse osmosis filtration system takes your water to the next level. With up to 7 stages of filtration and 14 filter options, they're certified to reduce over 90 contaminants. Your tap water is about to get a major upgrade, safer water that tastes great. Get started with a free in-home water test at Culligan.com. Culligan, water you love.
Day or night.
Many times, I'm sure.
There you go. That's it.
You can order Oodle Noodle at oodlenoodle.ca, delivering you the news almost right away. Remember, you can order Oodle Noodle at oodlenoodle.ca. So stay on your couch all day and order oodlenoodle.ca. Oodle Noodle.
Dang. Last season, you bought new clubs to fix your game. You spent the entire season trying to learn how to hit with your magic clubs. And guess what? Dang. They didn't help your game. Now you're convinced it's your swing, but it really is your clubs. Even though you were told the ones you bought were the best ever made, if they were, you would have gotten better. Every day at Fitted Golf, we continue to prove the right clubs make all the difference in the world. From beginners to pros, Fitted Golf makes all the difference. Yes, fittedgolf.ca.
Go green with a 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV at Cross Mitsubishi. Lease for $369 a month with $49.99 due at signing. Enjoy 0% financing for 36 months, plus a $1,000 trade rebate and $500 loyalty rebate. Equipped with a 10-year, 160,000-kilometer warranty. Offer ends February 28th. See Cross Mitsubishi, 9605 34th Avenue, or visit crossmitsubishi.ca. Cross Mitsubishi, drive your ambition.
It's the season for love, and you're about to fall hard for the vehicle of your dreams. Presenting the outstanding 2025 XC90 from Volvo Cars Edmonton. Right now, you can lease your 2025 XC90 plug-in hybrid from 1.49% and save $4,600. Or finance a 2025 XC60 from 1.49% and save $1,500. All while being deeply infatuated by the newly upgraded, highly attractive body and wheel design. Volvo Cars Edmonton. VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. 1205 101 Street Southwest.
It may sound cliche, but it's true. Building something new starts with a solid foundation. At GS Construction, we're growing Edmonton subdivisions with deep utility services and infrastructure that lasts. Every new project begins with skilled people like you, building communities from the ground up. GS Construction is hiring. So if you're a foreman or a pipe layer that's looking to put your skills to work for Edmonton and area in 2025, we'd love to hear from you. Visit gsconstruction.ca and join a team that digs deep and builds stronger.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Leading Edge Physio. The team in Old Strathcona has special training dedicated to reducing the impact of cancer care before, during, and after your diagnosis, from lymphedema to the management and fatigue of side effects of chemotherapy and radiation. They can help. Learn more at leadingedgephysio.com.
Hat-tricks, touchdowns, and home runs. Get it all with the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Welcome back. A lovely Wednesday afternoon on Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where you can get in the game at PlayAlberta.ca. Whether you want to do a casino or a gambling, whichever one, use the promo code Gregor50 and you'll get a free $50 play at PlayAlberta.ca. And it's time for another edition of the Business of Sports, as we are joined every Wednesday by a longtime NHL player agent. He's involved in hockey, been involved in lots of other sports. Heck, started in the movie business as Rich Winter joins us once again. Rich, how you doing, Matt?
Love the warm weather. It's awesome.
Oh, it's great, man.
Car's a mess, but the weather's good.
Do you wash it by hand or do you go to the car wash?
My dad was a funeral director. Every time I have a chance to wash a car, I love washing it. There's nothing more thrilling, to me, more fulfilling than taking it and getting it cleaned up. Nobody can do it better than I can.
So you do it yourself. Your dad was a funeral director?
Yeah. No,
so did you ever go, did you ever have to go with them and see dead bodies?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember driving through Peter's Drive-In in Calgary when I'd pick up bodies at the Foothills Hospital and, freak them out a little bit at the wicket. But I think funeral directors to a degree are some of the funniest people I ever met because it's it's just a difficult environment to work in.
Yeah.
But the hardest part and the hardest part is the anatomical stuff, the operational stuff, but it's dealing with the families and dealing with the challenges, the troubles they have. There's a lot of really interesting elements to it, but wasn't for me because as much as I tried marketing, Dad didn't like you kill them, we chill them, or you stab them, we slap them. None of those things seemed to work, and you just had to take it as it came,
So now I'm just curious because we'll get to business of sports in a second, but it's a funeral director. So would he were you guys in charge of who does the embalming? Who does all that stuff?
I didn't do any of that. My dad did that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess he must just get used to it after a while.
It's no different than operating. I mean, a lot of people operate on cadavers for purposes of medical research. It's
Right.
it's not like you're live dancing around when they're doing open heart surgery. So it's very
True.
similar to that. But
Yeah.
that part didn't really entice me much. I had more interest in sports, and those guys really weren't that good at sports.
Yeah, I would think not.
No,
So I
not at
would
all.
get it. Now, here we're 9 days away from the NHL trade deadline, Rich. And some years you'll have a few clients who are, they know they're not getting traded. There's lots of players who know for sure. Leon Draisaitl does not go to bed at night thinking he's getting traded, right? Zach Hyman. Now, there are other guys maybe, right? Like the Oilers, we've seen teams move out guys to bring in guys now in a salary cap world, so it can happen. And then there's other players that are like, hey, I know I'm getting traded, right? I'm a pending UFA. Our team's out of it. Some of them are really excited. The range of emotions, I'm sure, are tough. But how involved do agents get around trade deadline?
Not much. It depends on if you're actively involved in a trade that could lead to a contract extension. Sometimes that's important. We're not that involved. They don't keep us too much in the loop. I may be checking in if I have a player who's requested a trade,
right?
But not too much.
What about players who are going to get traded but have no trade clauses, right? Or no movement
Well,
clause?
that gets more interesting, right? Because there's no such thing as a no trade clause, right? Because ultimately, they're on paper, but it's like the contract. The contract you sign with anybody is not worth the paper it's written on if the handshake's not as valuable. But at the end of the day, they come to you and say, look, we're not interested. We don't really like you. Basically want to move you. You'll have some control over team A and B.
Right.
But you're not going to have control over trade. It's a fantasy.
Yeah. So, because if you had a player, and I'll use Jeff Skinner, for instance, in Edmonton, right? Like they look at Jeff Skinner and the fit doesn't seem like it's great depending on who you talk to. Now he does have a full no movement clause, right? He's never been in the playoffs. He wants to be in a playoff team. So he might, if you guys want to trade me, well, then find a playoff team, and there might not be a playoff team that works. So if one of your players, a team's like, well, we're not going to play you down the stretch. You're going to sit in the press box every night. You're not going to get in the playoffs. If that's one of your clients, you've always talked about chase opportunity, not money. Well, your opportunity there is you're not going to play. How happy will you be? Do you have to kind of walk them through that? Have you ever had a player, who's been in a situation like that where the team might not want to keep him, but he likes being there?
Yeah, I haven't really. Usually that guy's just gone, so we don't really deal with it. No, not the situation you described. And it's tough for that situation to unfold because if they can put Jeff Skinner in the press box or send him down, they're still eating $2 million. So
they can't send him down because he has no move, right? No trade they could, but not no move.
Right. So at the end of the day, why these teams do this, I have no idea. They get suckered into it all the time and put themselves in real restrictive spots. But yeah, I don't see him getting moved. Not to a playoff team. No one's eating that cap hit for that level of performance unless somebody likes him better than we do or the others do. But I just don't know. I think it's just players are within their right to say no. It just depends on the situation. Do you want to finish strong? Everybody knows from a behavioral science perspective. We all remember what we saw last. That's why the guy who had a terrible season, had a great playoff, gets $4 million when he's worth $1.5 million. It's why the guy who finished strong down the stretch on a non-playoff team, because that's what, geez, if he's as good as he was those last 12 games,
Yeah.
And they don't realize the 12 games are not necessarily representative. It's like free throw shooting. A guy shoots 80% from the floor. You don't expect him to go up. He doesn't have an 80% chance. He has his 42% chance. It just happened that he went on the run and And so I think this time of year is important. I've talked to a couple of my clients who won't be traded, but are not playing in a position that I think is effectively helps reward them for how capable they are. I got guys playing on the third line should be, scored 30 plus goals, shouldn't be there. But I'll tell you, at the end of the day, you just say to them, look, finish strong, get 6 goals in those 9 or 10 playoff games, you'll be fine.
And now you've talked about what they know, and that's probably why players who are on a Stanley Cup winner, like their value is perceived much. He's going to come in, he's going to help with all culture, and maybe in some cases they do. I don't think you can discount it in some cases. Maybe it gets overrated a little bit in other cases, but it's definitely a thing. I don't think we can sit here and debate it's not. So how do you use that to your advantage then? Sometimes, like when you have a client like that, I'm assuming you use all of those things when you're having discussions with teams. And do they come up as often as maybe we think they do?
Not that much. I think it's funny when you go into, especially on free agency, you go to July 1st, you barely have time to finish a cup of coffee before everything's happening and unfolding so fast. You're not going into a lot of detail. They've done their homework.
Okay.
Maybe comes into play when you're doing an arbitration because playoff performance has an impact. Arbitrators have said that. A little bit of an impact, but I know, you just know, if you've got a player as tenacious as an Andrew Mangiapane, who played, is a really good player, plays both ways, plays hard, hasn't really been in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Now he goes on a long run with the Washington Capitals and picks up 6 goals in 24 games, 10 goals in 24 games. He's now answered that bell. So you look at Andrew, generally played in the top 6, played a little more power plays, playing in Washington on a little better team. That might erase any doubts players have, teams have that, maybe he's not 35 like he was that one year, but he's probably 20, 25. And look what he did in the playoffs, Jason. We're going to be there if it's Carolina. We're going to be there if it's Florida.
Yeah.
What do you think they want?
Yeah. So that adds, and the fact that, if Washington adds a third line center that everybody talks about, well, then suddenly anybody who gets to play with better players, your chance of playing better improve.
I don't want to, and third line center is probably an area that the Capitals could really
look at. I think if you look at it, that's the one area that, they don't have many weaknesses on that team. That's a really good team, but that would be one area I think they would be looking to improve on. Lars Eller isn't the Lars Eller who won Stanley Cup. He just isn't, right?
No,
it's 6 years later.
He's skilled, but
he's just slower.
He's slow and he's limited. But at the end of the day, there's nobody happier than me, Andrew Mangiapane, if they actually pull a trade off like that.
The whole, you talked about how the agents don't do a whole bunch at this time. But once a trade happens, right? And if you have a client who's never been traded before, then I'm guessing those next 24 hours, 36 as an agent become very important. And okay, you know what? Not maybe even dealing with him, but dealing with his family, his wife, because he's gone, right? He gets traded. He packs up his bag, gives her a kiss, kisses the kids. He's gone now to whichever city, and they've got to clean it up. So do you have a team? How does that work to help the families during a mid-season trade?
Well, we have a concierge, group in our office that takes care of all that stuff. They've seen every single problem you have. They know how to move cars. Teams are very helpful on that. It's really not that difficult.
Okay.
It becomes, what's more challenging is the Devon Shores of the world, who are up and down.
Right.
Gets an apartment in Iowa, thinking he'll be there quite a bit of the year. Then he gets called up. He never gets called back. Now his family's coming up, living with him in a hotel, trying to figure all of those dynamics out. That's probably the hardest part, when families are in a level of uncertainty.
Right.
And they're, they got a 7-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old
Yeah, and
boy,
if they're in school, well, then you can't even move, right?
Yeah, it's those kind of things. People don't think about it. I sit at home, I always tell the players, this is a really bummer you got traded. And then I just go home, right? I've never experienced it. I don't know what it'd be like. Imagine coming, I don't even know how my family would handle it. Well, we're moving to Washington. Like, they've never had to be exposed to that. It's a lot harder than people think.
Yeah, I think, that's why the first time trade, like players talk about that first time, it's just the unknown, you don't know. And we see lots of players who the first time they get traded to a new team, they don't all acclimatize instantly. Yeah. Right. And then all of a sudden it's, we brought you in, you're a top 6 forward and you haven't scored in 10 games. And now all of a sudden the guy's got way more pressure on himself and it becomes a real snowball effect. How about, in having seen so many players deal with it, do you have advice on why you get guys on the best way to adjust to a mid-season trade?
There's no magic formula. I don't have one, because you don't know how the coaches react. There's so many biases in this sport. Like, I have 47 All-Star Game appearances, 6 Vezinas, 2 Hart trophies, a Norris Trophy, 42 Stanley Cup rings, won by guys who were waived and cleared, bought out. Here's $500,000, go home. And that one case, Marty Straka went from being bought out to getting 92 points the next year, 4th leading scorer in the league. So you just don't know. I mean, the coaches are always right. I've never met an inch coach isn't wrong. They're always right, because what happens is they think Marty Straka is too small.
Right.
They put him on the 4th line. He plays 8 minutes. He can't score anymore, he says. Well, of course he can't score. So he makes himself right. And then, of course, he tries that kid that we all know is way out of his element. And he tries him long enough that he ends up with 4 power play goals over 30 games. He's coming. And you just don't know how a coach is going to react. That's why when we ask, when I encourage players, can't force somebody, encourage players, if we're into a situation where we've got 2 or 3 choices in free agency, I want you to talk to the coach. You make the decision.
Okay.
Because ultimately it takes about 5 minutes for a player to figure out, this guy gets my game.
Right.
I'm going there. It also takes me off the hook, right? Because when he says, well, why did we go to Pittsburgh? Well, what do you mean? You picked it.
Yeah. Well, because you're right. You don't control the ice time, and you don't control the relationship between a player and his coach. And it's
we actually can do that. And that's another segment. But at the end of the day.
Whoa. Well, maybe we'll take a break and we'll come back to that next, because we'll have Todd. We'll have 2 agents on and talk about how you can impact the coach. I'm sure, like anything, I know you study a lot on psychology and different things like that, and in conversations and how to approach things, right? Like those are things you learn over time now that you didn't know when you came into the business.
Well, it's true, but one thing I've learned, I could care less what the general manager thinks about my player. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
because if the coach doesn't like him, so Marion, you got to talk to Quenneville before we sign. You have to have a feel, and now that's when you have a choice. Sometimes you don't have a choice and you just got to deal with what you got. But ultimately, that's really important. And players just are smart. Like they know coaches and they just know those things. And, I've been in situations when I was younger where general managers love this guy. But Grant Fuhr is a good example. Or not Grant Fuhr, sorry, Dominique Haché. The general manager, Jerry Meehan, loved him. He saw him stop so many pucks in a 1-0 loss to the Russians. He saw 62 shots or something. He said, I've seen this guy play. There's no better goalie in the world. Muckler gets the job, trades for Grant Fuhr, right? His go-to guy from Edmonton. Dom's not playing.
Yeah.
He's never going to be the starter when Grant's there. Grant gets hurt. And Dom got like 3 shutouts in 5 games, and the rest we're fairly familiar with. But that's a bias. Now, Muck always took credit. Rich, I discovered him. Well, yeah, you discovered him because somebody got hurt. But at the end of the day, you just don't know. And sometimes you just have to do more research, coach to player, than GM to agent, because the latter one, irrelevant.
Rich Winter joined us. Todd Reynolds will join us next. We continue on more. Of course, we're leading up to trade deadline, so we got a lot of agent talk and some stories and some thoughts about the game leading up to trade deadline, and good and bad stories next on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. It's the business of sport with Rich Winter.
Play Alberta has hundreds of casino games right at your fingertip. Join thousands discovering why Fortune Coin is one of Alberta's most popular games. Fill your reels with golden coins, multiply your prizes up to 6 times, and turn good spins into legendary ones. Land the Fortune Coin symbol to win cash, trigger the jackpot, launch the free spins bonus, and watch as the dragon takes over your screen. New players get 100 free spins only on PlayAlberta.ca. Claim your offer today.
Kids getting free all season long. Can you believe it? Looking for an enjoyable and affordable family night out? The Spruce Grove Saints are excited to introduce their Kids Get In Free program. All kids 12 and under receive free admission for every Saints home game this season. Bring the entire family for action-packed junior hockey at a fraction of the cost. For more information, check out sgsaints.ca.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m.
Getting your vehicle sparkling clean doesn't have to cost a fortune. Take it into Hughes today and pay just loonies a wash.
Find us at HughesCarWash.com.
Introducing the new McSpicy from McDonald's. It looks like a regular chicken sandwich, but it's actually a spicy chicken sandwich. McSpicy. Consider yourself warned. Limited time only. Participate in McDonald's in Canada.
The temperature has dropped, and so have our prices. Join us at Vision RV now through Sunday for our free, that's right, free indoor sale. During this massive event, you'll save up to 30% off your new RV with no payments for 6 months OAC. Trailers for just $12,900. Over 200 RVs in stock, 40 units indoors, so you can shop in comfort. We're clearing them out to make room for spring inventory to beat the tariffs. So don't miss these deals now through Sunday here at Vision RV, south of the Yellowhead on Highway 60.
Portions of this hour brought to you by On the Rocks. Watch every Oilers game at OTR with $5.25 Molson Canadian, $5 Pink Whitney shots, and 60-cent wings. Plus, play Oilers score and win for your chance to win On the Rocks gift cards. Oilers hockey at OTR. Book your table today. Jasper Ave and 118th.
From puck drop to kickoff, it's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.427. Welcome back. Jason Gregor, Rich Winter here on Sports 1440, sports1440.ca, Order Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Hope you are having a wonderful Wednesday afternoon. Hey, it's not, we got a little stretch here of decent weather. On free. Heck, I had the windows open my house all last night. It was unreal. So fresh in the morning. So it's a nice.
I asked God how it's going out at his place with 300 feet of snow out in Paris, Ontario.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a sec. The only negative about the hot weather right now is that the Blades of Steel pond hockey tournament had to be postponed, unfortunately, out at Cattail Crossing. So I know for the teams that were registered, that's unfortunate, but you can't play on the pond when there's a chance of falling through the pond. You know what I'm saying? So that's not ideal. Anyway, let's welcome in player agent from Ray Sports, Todd Reynolds, joins us once again. Todd, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jason. Thanks for having me, Rich. Nice to see you again. It's been a few hours.
Yeah, it's been a few hours. I hope you enjoyed those few hours.
How much snow you got?
We've had quite a bit in Ontario, actually. Old-fashioned Canadian winter is what the Ontarians are referring to this winter as. Okay. But I don't know. I mean, if you're north of the city, maybe a couple of feet in the last few weeks. I mean, that's a lot of snow for us. So,
now, do you have a snowblower, Todd, or are you a shoveler?
I actually have a country property with a Jeep that has a snowplow on the front, and it's next level, Jason. You get to stay warm. You turn on the heated seats and steering wheel. And you plow snow. It's beautiful. So you're hoping for snow when you have that sort of setup. It's been nice.
Yeah, it's kind of sounds soft to me, but hey, I get it. That's we'll see.
Todd was a goalie.
It definitely is.
Now, Todd, I know that I don't think I was looking at your agent, your player list, and I don't think you have any guys that are like on the trade target boards or those trade bait boards or anything like that. But do you have players? Do they call you to, hey, are you hearing? What do you think? Or does it depend if a guy's really, worried about it? Or do you have any players who say, hey, Todd, you know what? Like, my name's not out there. Can we get it out there? Like, does that ever work that way?
Yes, it does. I mean, I think that's rare. I don't know about Rich's experience, but in mine, I'd say that's more the exception than the rule. Usually it's either by surprise, Jason, where it catches everyone off guard, or there's some leaks, various ways that those take place, but where you have an indication that something may happen with your client, and of course then it does. And you're not surprised, but oftentimes you just look at the team, don't you? You look at just what's happening with a given team, and you say, well, there's going to be some movement here, and if your player's a good player on that team, and depending on his contractual status, he may be likely to be moved.
Now, one of the guys you have who just signed a big contract in Chicago is Tyler Bertuzzi, and that season hasn't gone the way they wanted. Seth Jones last night didn't pull any punches talking about his team. The shot attempts in that game, I think, were like 93-36 or something crazy, losing to Utah. When you have a player who signs in a situation, and maybe it's not going as well, from a team perspective, and then obviously, from a player perspective, do you find you talk to them more during the season because it's been such a frustrating season, or does it lessen the conversation?
I think it depends on the personality, Jason. I mean, hockey players are people, so they're really no different there in terms of how they handle these sorts of experiences that they're going through. Some of them are very matter of fact. Hey, go to work, punch the clock, have a good attitude, be a good teammate. You can't control those things, sort of that type of approach. And then there's others that are more maybe emotional about it, or are more, thinking about alternatives. But I think generally when a player gets to a certain point in time in their career and experienced and mature, they understand the realities of playing in a given organization, depending where they are in the cycle, the rebuild and so forth. And they do what they need to do.
Todd Reynolds joins us. And so, Todd, your approach, because we got a lot of texts coming in at 833-401-1440. They're all fascinating. I really appreciate it. I know we can't go too much in depth into players currently, but what about, do you have any stories of, the trade deadline? Rich said it doesn't happen a lot that, he engages with managers unless you have a no movement clause during that. But in your experience, have you had previous years where you as an agent got involved to help facilitate a trade?
Well, certainly there's been instances where, the player had a preference in where he.
I think we might have lost Todd there for a sec. We'll try to get him back. So we'll see how that goes.
We work so closely. Should I just finish that thought?
Finish it before.
I'm not sure what he was going to say.
No, he probably had a player though, and so, like where you had to help facilitate it, right? Because when he has a say, then that's when you were saying like it has. Yeah. You have obviously more of an impact and potential to say, okay, well, we want to go to A, B, or C. But even then, Rich, like I like what you said earlier, because we have a lot of texters. Rich, can you go into depth more on why you say a no movement clause really isn't worth that much?
Well, it's just because a player who knows he's not wanted, knows they would like to move him. You just don't want to be there, right? Like, I mean, how many of us have been in a working situation where you don't get along with a couple of people at work? You just got to get out of there. And I think it's just, and usually when it happens, it's not instant. It's not like, wow, I can't believe these guys are unhappy. They've been unhappy for a while. It's in the newspaper. I kept waking up and expecting Skinner and Pickard and maybe the third goalie, which they haven't picked on much lately. They're all gone, right? And so you usually hear some, little bits of rumors and rumblings. I mean, in that case, I think that's why I don't like sports talk radio to a large degree when it comes to this time of year, because if we even had 10%, 1% of 10% of the trades they talk about, like Skinner and Calvin aren't going anywhere.
Now you say that, but do you know that for sure? Like, how do you know?
You never know for sure.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, there's just no other options out there that are any better that they can fit the salary cap. Like, this isn't like all these fantastical trades that are made up. No one really evaluates the cost. Calvin's had a great season as a backup. Well, you can argue whatever you like, but he's done really, really well, and his record stands for it. Skinner's had, some struggles, but he's been really good, like in the playoffs. He's been really good with this team in the playoffs. Like, what are you going to do? You're not going to get Patrick Waugh. I just don't see it.
Yeah. Well, like the latest one is Binnington, and that's the one I want to ask you, Todd. Thanks for rejoining us. Because so I always chuckle at it when they're in on trade talks. Well, in on trade talks could mean a GM calls the guy and says, "Hey, who do you have available? Who are you willing to trade?" Okay, thank you, and then they hang up the phone. That doesn't mean it's any.
And they may never talk again.
Yeah, right. And I'm sure, like when we talk about even signing contracts. And that was my next thing. In-season negotiations, Todd. Some guys say they don't want to do it. But as the agent, some players are like, you negotiate the contract. That's what I hire you for. How do you approach if a player says, I don't really want to talk contract during the year, but then the GM calls you in March and is like, hey, I want to talk contract. How does it work? Do you just say, no, my client doesn't want to talk till the end of the year, or do you listen?
I mean, we can always listen. I don't think there's anything wrong with us listening. I think most times the player is referring to not wanting to be distracted with that intel. So we'll listen and we'll do our job. It doesn't mean we necessarily have to be sharing that with the player if he's requested that he stays out of it, essentially. So. Or of course you can just say, look, we don't want to talk about it. We're going to wait until the end of the season and assess it at that time. It just really depends on the situation, Jason.
During the season, so tough because, and it's just different because the dynamics are like in the summer, everything's fixed. 22 goals, 47 points, nothing's changing. And when you're negotiating during the season, we'll run into situations where after 4 games with very little ice time, no production, I'm joking, but they're thinking 2-way contract, right? And then he gets a hat trick and 4 points the next game, and we think he's worth $9 million. It's a really weird dynamic to negotiate during the season because a little stretch of good luck or bad luck just changes the tenor quite a bit. We've got one particular client who can remain nameless that we're seeing that with, right? Like, and then then you see a guy sign, right? Well, maybe our clients, but this guy signs and wow, you're going, holy smokes. I guess we were thinking 2, maybe it is 3, right? You don't know.
Todd Reynolds joins us, Jason Gregor, Rich Winter here in the business of sport. But we are leading up to trade deadline, and we've seen cases before, guys who are pending free agents and teams like, well, I'd like to sign him. So they try to talk contract maybe more now in the next week and tell you, guess what? We just can't come to an agreement. And then the player gets moved. Correct? So is that maybe more where the agents get involved here in the next week is with guys who are pending free agents that both sides have said, hey, I'm interested in signing here. And sometimes you just say that to be polite, I'm sure, on both occasions, but because you don't want to piss off the fan base, and I get it all. But, the in-season leading up to trade deadline negotiation, Todd, how different is it than an off-season negotiation?
Well, as Rich already mentioned, I think those are important points. And the market, as I'm just sitting here listening, what's coming to mind for me is the market has not taken shape yet. It's a bit like agreeing to sell your house for a certain price 2 years from now. We don't know what the market's going to look like at that time. So as you sit here today, you might think, well, this player's worth, $2 million is the market. And then as signings begin to trickle in, players are signing for potentially considerably more. Well, that now reshapes the marketplace, the cluster of players that your client is in. So I'd say that's probably what makes it the most challenging in season is it's a bit of an incomplete.
Now, what about the fact that the NHL has come out, they announced with the salary cap, not only for next year, but the next 3 years. Like you can kind of now look and say, okay, in a few years, it's going to be $113 million. The floor is going to be basically what the ceiling was this past season, which is crazy how quickly it's going to go up over the next 3 years. Is that easier to negotiate because now like teams know what they can spend? And do you incorporate, okay, if a guy like percentage of cap today, does it automatically go into it for 4 years, or is that too simplistic?
No, I think the agents would certainly like to make that argument, and we're successful sometimes doing that, Jason. Some clubs will buy into the percentage of cap position more than others, or are more comfortable with it than others. But there's more certainty, of course, now. I would say, you know, in the industry, there's more certainty now. Some would say that that's been baked in over the last number of months or even year plus in the deals that you've seen. But I don't think there's anything like certainty to help everyone, you know, get to the numbers that they're comfortable with.
And Todd, like, I think what's going to be interesting, a lot of guys at the top have locked into long-term deals, you know, over the last couple of years. That's going to leave a lot for that middle class now, you know, and we saw that contract signed out of Vancouver a while ago. I can't remember the kid's name. He had 8 goals. They give him $2.5 million. I think we're going to see back to the days of the third line player making a lot more. I think we're going to see more 3s and more 4s on the third line than we have for a long time. And you'll see maybe a few 1.5 and 2s on the fourth line, because there's a lot of teams that have had this core locked up and they're weak, like the Oilers are depth-wise, like Toronto is depth-wise. Now there's going to be some competition for that pretty skilled, dynamic fourth line center, you know?
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. You know, there's a lot more room, and sometimes, Jason, the problem is everybody thinks that they're the ones that are going to be the beneficiaries of that lift, right? So, you know, there's still only so much more to go around.
Well, yeah, that's fair, right? And that's always I'm sure you guys, with your experience, I like what you said. Some teams buy into the percentage of cap, and others are like, no, like percentage of cap is one number. It doesn't mean it's the do all end all. So as an agent, you know, do you have to find the, I guess, the common ground with each individual GM / owner? And does it change from year to year? Or do you find that guys who's been a GM for 7-8 years, you kind of know what he values and what he doesn't, and how maybe that works for or against a specific type of client you have?
Rich, do you want to speak to that, or do you want me to answer it?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's always been interesting to us on our side of the table or desk, so to speak, in the different approaches that you experience. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, we had a client who we were trying to get he was a two-way player, Jason. So he was up and down, and obviously, you know, wanted to get a one-way contract. And we had asked for a 2-year deal that was a two-way and then a one-way. So one of these hybrid deals.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's what we had proposed. And the team didn't say yes. They didn't say no, but they said, look, you know, we don't think so. And, you know, it made us sweat a little bit, and called us back a week later and said, look, we're not going to do that deal, but we're going to give you a 1-year one-way. And, you know, as you can imagine, there was like a bit of silence on our end of the phone. You know, did we hear that correctly?
That's a better deal. I'm like, what am I missing here?
Right. That's what we did. We did the same thing. We're like, and you're waiting for the next part, and there was no next part. And you know, they basically figured it out on their own for certain reasons that I won't get into here. They made the decision that that's what made the most sense for them. And, you know, you'd have other teams fight you on that, and they wouldn't give it to you. They wouldn't even give you the contract that you had proposed, that you had asked for. They'd come back with something less. And in this case, the team came back with something more. So it's always interesting to see how teams deal with these situations. And that's what makes the business so interesting.
Oh, July 1st is always fun, because sometimes you just get a call. And I mean, we've been in a couple of situations, Todd, over the last few years where we weren't even really anticipating any interest whatsoever from a particular team. And they call you, and I can think of one instance where they go, okay.
Did you sign with that team?
Yeah. And I got back to Todd, and we went, yeah, that's good. You know, like I had no idea. You know, we're fighting teams over at 3.5, 4. They're not sure. And all of a sudden we're getting, you know, closer to 6.
And also, Jason, what's interesting is you'll have teams calling you, expressing, you know, serious interest, and you've got them as like the top 3 for a certain player. and they're all over you, and then crickets when the time comes.
Yeah.
Right.
Because our guy was third. We didn't know he was third on their list. We thought, gee, it sounded like he was first, but they're trying to keep all three of those players they're interested in play because they don't know if one's going to another team picking up two. And we find out, after you go through the process, our guy might have been 5 as it plays out.
And now, because you used to have the window where you could negotiate with multiple teams leading up to free agency, right? They've closed that again. And I know that people say, well, they talked before, and I probably don't, I don't disagree with that. Well, actually, I've talked to agents who have told me they've had contracts agreed to before July 1st. However,
shame on them.
Some days it's July 1st, and you have a client who's not a big name client, and he gets an offer for whatever 3 years at $1.2 million from this team, and then some teams will say, hey, you've got certain time, yes or no. How quickly can you go through that with a player on July 1st? Because is it, do you have to say we got to make a decision, or because we've seen it lately, guys didn't sign because they're like, I'm going to get a better deal, and then it's August 1st and they don't have a contract. So in that mass rush of the non-big name players, how stressful is it for, third line, fourth line guys, number 4, 5, 6 defensemen to get an offer knowing that the other team might say, hey, this is what we offer, but you got an hour. Otherwise we're on to somebody else.
That happens. That definitely happens, and it can get pretty quiet after July 3rd.
Oh, yeah. You're not signed by July 3rd. It's a tough summer ahead, and there's nothing you can do about it because after about that first 4 or 5 days after July 1st, GMs go on vacation. They're going to evaluate their team, and you're sitting there with a young man who's got 3 little kids, and he and his wife have no idea what's going on. It's tough, and you really, hey, Todd, like after you get past July 10th, generally, you're not talking seriously with anybody until the end of August.
It's difficult. It can be a long summer. So it's very nice to get your work done early, of course. And for the players that have been through that, who then at a future point in their career have an opportunity to sign a 3-year extension, you understand why they do that. It's not a lot of fun to go through.
Guys, we got to take one quick break, but when we come back, a scenario that we saw last summer, and with the massive increases in salary cap, I'm very curious when you read your agent tea leaves, if you think it's going to become the norm. That's coming up next on The Business of Sport on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X.
Introducing the new McSpicy from McDonald's. It looks like a regular chicken sandwich, but it's actually a spicy chicken sandwich. McSpicy. Consider yourself warned. Limited time only. Participate in McDonald's in Canada.
Are you tired of waking up tired? Are you tossing and turning all night and stiff and sore the next morning? If your sleep is suffering, it's time to visit the Brick Mattress Store. Their sleep experts will help you find the right support for restful night's sleep. Back sleeper, side sleeper, hot or cold, there is a perfect mattress for you. Plus, with next day delivery, your best night's sleep could be tomorrow. Check out the Brick Mattress Store locations in Spruce Grove, South Edmonton, St. Albert, Leduc, and start waking up refreshed.
The Alzheimer's Face-Off presented by Christensen Communities Limited hits the ice April 25th to 27th. Don't miss the Champions Luncheon on Friday, April 25th at the Edmonton Convention Center. Tables are on sale now. This year's event is hosted by accomplished sports journalist and author Scott Morrison and features the legendary locker room tales of Mike Keenan. Iron Mike grew from a highly respected NHL player to one of the most passionate coaches in hockey history. For more information or to purchase your Champions Luncheon table, visit alzheimersfaceoff.ca.
Catch all the on-ice action and excitement right here. The Sports Bar at Century Casino Edmonton. With tons of big screens, there's not a bad seat in the house. Plus food and drink features and an all-star menu with something for everyone. Join the fun this February with Oilers watch parties. And be sure to cheer loud and proud from puck drop to the final horn.
Every day is game day at Century Sports Bar and Lounge. The temperature has dropped, and so have our prices.
Join us at Vision RV now through Sunday for our free, that's right, free indoor sale. During this massive event, you'll save up to 30% off your new RV with no payments for 6 months OAC. Trailers for just $12,900. Over 200 RVs in stock, 40 units indoors, so you can shop in comfort. We're clearing them out to make room for spring inventory to beat the tariffs. So don't miss these deals now through Sunday here at Vision RV, south of the Yellowhead on Highway 60.
Looking at the Alberta weather forecast, wild, unpredictable, brutally tough.
When the
this year.
weather
It's gonna be
turns tough, Titan Supply doesn't back down. Titan Supply has been protecting workers from conditions like this for 50 years. We stand tall with you against the elements with the industry's best rigging, hauling, and lifting products to get you home safe. Tire chains, wire rope, round slings, chain slings, and a whole lot more. Titan Supply in Edmonton, Grand Prairie, Red Deer, and Calgary. Online at titansupply.ca. Lift, dig, haul.
The temperature has dropped, and so have our prices. Join us at Vision RV now through Sunday for our free, that's right, free indoor sale. During this massive event, you'll save up to 30% off your new RV with no payments for 6 months OAC. Trailers for just $12,900. Over 200 RVs in stock, 40 units indoors, so you can shop in comfort. We're clearing them out to make room for spring inventory to beat the tariffs. So don't miss these deals now through Sunday here at Vision RV, south of the Yellowhead on Highway 60.
4 friends helped out of the mud.
22 secret fishing spots found.
61 trails conquered.
Measure your Tacoma's reliability and memories, not just the mileage. It's time to Toyota. Lease a 2025 Tacoma 4x4. $113 weekly for 60 months at 6.99% with $7,430 down. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer today.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Culligan for all your residential water needs. Your local water treatment company, more than just big bottles. Culligan.com.
Hat tricks, touchdowns, and home runs. Get it all with the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.452. Welcome back, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley. I know a lot of people are wondering because, hey, if it happens once, it's going to happen again. Offer sheets seem to be the most talked about thing that rarely happens. They did happen this past offseason, and Oiler fans definitely know all about it with Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway. And we have Rich Winter, a regular contributor here in the Business of Sport, also Todd Reynolds, player agent for Ray Sports. And guys, with the increase of the salary cap, it's going up $7.5 million. It's going to be $95.5 million. So do you think with the increase, and when other RFAs who have no arbitration rights see what happened to Broberg and Holloway, I'm sure they're all hoping, hey, maybe offer sheets will happen again. Because if you look at it from a St. Louis perspective, it was great management. They get 2 young players. They gave up a second and 2/3 and a young prospect for proven NHL players. Now, they probably played better than they thought, but they project them to do well. So it's a good trade from their standpoint, and they get paid more. Do you guys think, and I'll start with you, Todd, that offer sheets are going to be more the norm, or with the increased salary cap, does it make it even less likely?
I don't see it going up personally. That's just my own opinion. Could be wrong. But clearly it worked in that instance because a club like St. Louis can project a player's role to be increased and, of course, have a higher value in their organization if they have a certain hole to fill. Jason. So it's worth it if it's worth it. Like, in other words, if you say, well, gee, we're going to get this player for that cost and he's going to provide us this sort of role in our organization, then it becomes a pretty simple decision, I think, at that point, which clearly it was for St. Louis.
I think, Todd, too, that situation last summer was on the 3rd year of a flat cap when things were really tight all over the place. I think there's just going to be enough flexibility. I don't see an offer sheet at all this year. Like, I mean, sure, there may be one, but I don't see any team that has enough issues that they can't solve them by dealing with. There's so many bottom feeders this year that have virtually no prospect of being a team that can challenge next year. You know, we used to call it the Arizona dump, right? You know, we always had the dump to deal with, right? So you could always send a player there. Marian Hossa went there in the second year of his career when he had already basically retired. And there's just no, you know, there's gonna be a few more dumps this year, you know.
Right.
Better teams, you know, San Jose, Chicago. It's gonna be a lot of opportunity for them to buy into the future and pick up a first or a second to fix the salary cap problem.
We know that NHL teams have their whiteboard in the summer, right? They have a whiteboard. This is what we need. We're looking to improve our team. Yada. Do you, as an agent, do you guys have your whiteboard and say, okay, if I have, and I'll just use, I know that he's under contract, so it's easy for me to use an example, Todd, Zach Hyman, right? So Zach Hyman isn't going to be a free agent this summer. But when he was there a whiteboard that had, okay, Edmonton, you know, teams that he wants to go to, teams that we think he's going to go to? Do you have your own whiteboard for players, and do you fill that out like weeks before free agency?
In some cases, yes, because you have a strong indication that the player just won't return to his club for whatever reason, Jason. But in a case like Zach Hyman's, I think the intention, the work was really to try to make it fit in Toronto, and of course, ultimately, it did not. But in some cases, you just know it's not going to work beyond the current season. So you put that list together with the player. For a number of different reasons. Maybe, you know, his wife's a country music star and he wants to go play in Nashville, you know, something like that. But there's
you're talking about that, huh?
You, Todd?
Jeez.
There's all kinds of different, you know, driving factors that cause a player to want to play in a certain city.
So in the case of Zach, when you said you tried to make it work in Toronto, how down to the wire did you get, and then how quickly do you have to pivot?
I mean, I think we worked on it probably, you know, diligently right up to the week before, really. And what can happen is a player and his family can get, you know, deal fatigue, essentially, you know, negotiating fatigue, and just say, this is getting silly, or this is dragging on too long, or I can't believe they won't do that. They did it on these other players, things of that nature. And then eventually they start to sort of turn off, if you will. You know, they just say, well, I think the ship has sailed. And that's, you know, what happens in some of these cases is, you know, before July 1st, they've left in their own mind.
You must have to be maybe a little bit of a psychologist, because some players are like, it almost feels like a breakup in a way. They're like, man, this is where I've been. I really wanted to stay here. And oh my God, they're not bringing me back.
Definitely. And sometimes it takes July 1st and other teams shaping the marketplace for your client, essentially. You know, I think back to Chris Neil with the Ottawa Senators. You know, long time, tough guy, great player, you know, could play, and also was extremely physical. Spent his whole career in Ottawa, and he had to go through free agency. I mean, he had to re-sign with Ottawa on July the 1st after other teams were involved, just to get it to the point where it was serious that he may leave.
Okay.
You know, and all the while he was very clear, as we were, that he wanted to stay in Ottawa. That was the goal. He wanted to remain there, but the numbers just weren't there, and that's what it took.
Well, and teams sometimes they really play on that. Come on, Todd. He doesn't want to go anywhere, right? Right. He doesn't really want to go.
And that's part of the, I'm sure that's the gamesmanship, where they're going to try to call your bluff. You're going to try to call their bluff, right? And then have you ever had, either one of you, where a team called your bluff and it didn't work out? And then, like, what do you say to your player, or the players? Do they always know, like, whatever cards you're playing, it's at the approval of your player?
I think if they know us well enough in our relationship, our rapport with our players, then yes, they know that there's no undermining that, essentially, Jason. But some players have had, 3, 4, 5 agents. And, I think they wonder in those cases how solid the relationship is.
Rich, you?
Well, I don't have anything to add to that really, but I think it's interesting that, they will play. I mean, in a situation, I mean, I think the multiple agent situation factors in a lot to character too, right? Do we want a guy that, loyalty is a big thing in hockey. And at the end of the day,
but sometimes a player isn't getting, proper representation or enough engagement, especially, at times I think it's harder from a bigger agency. So how do you approach that then? Is that lack of loyalty, or is it just a player maybe saying, hey, I need better treatment?
Well, I think that should be always the primary factor. I mean, if my dentist doesn't do molars, I'm not, I'm going to go to another dentist. I mean, I think sometimes loyalty is a good thing certainly when someone's doing a good job. And I've said to players that are interested in perhaps retaining us, if you already have a red car and I'm just selling you a blue car, let's just quit this conversation because it doesn't make any sense if you're generally happy. But is there something you're not getting? That's usually the first questions we're asking a player that's unhappy with his agent. Like, what is it you think we can do for you? What is it you're missing? And sometimes you're just doing a terrible job. I mean, I remember I got Ilya Bryzgalov. I went for lunch or coffee with him because his agent or his financial guy said he wasn't happy with this big agency he was with. I said to my wife, we're on vacation. I promise not to do anything other, really focus on just enjoying some relaxing. I said, honey, he's going to get like $60 million. It's probably a complete waste of my time, but it's coffee. He's not like, it's not serious, but I got to go. So I went and he hired me a coffee. His agent hadn't called him for 3 or 4 months. So you just never know. And usually it's circumstantial. There's 2 ways of getting a new client. It's always based on one factor. He's unhappy.
Right.
Now, he's either unhappy the minute you call him, and it's obvious, or after you share with him what you think we could do for him, he becomes unhappy, right? Because they don't leave if they're happy. It's like a marriage, you're happy and you don't need to shop around. And but a lot of times, and sometimes you just need a different voice. One player, I'm really good friends with Kurt Overhart, who's one of my competitors, and one of his clients called me, and I kept saying, well, Kurt's he's great. He's a great guy. He's a great agent. Call him back. And then 3 months later, he called me again. And after he finally, the third time, I phoned Kurt and said, Kurt, he said, Rich, I just think, I appreciate that you've really been pushing him, to be loyal and stay here, but he needs another voice. He just needs another voice. Sometimes my voice, Todd's voice, Kurt's voice, it just gets worn out, right? And sometimes they just need a different perspective.
Because sometimes a player might have an opinion of himself that maybe isn't reflective of what he is as an actual player. And
that's never really. Have you seen that, Todd?
on occasion.
Yeah, the odd time. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that will
happen. How does that guy get that kind of money? Well,
yeah.
He had 4 times as many goals as you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got more opportunity.
Quickly, guys. So, Todd, with 9 days to go before the trade deadline, is there anything what's on your plate? Do you approach it differently? Are you pretty relaxed this year? Yeah, I know.
To Arizona to sit by the pool.
Yeah, I don't think I was looking at your list. You don't have a lot of guys that should be heavy players in it, correct?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we'll always check in with our clients, see what they're hearing, check in with the teams and just see if there's anything that we should expect. Sometimes media personalities will call us and either offer us some intel or ask us what's going on with certain players. They may have heard things of that nature, but I think this year for us as a group, it will be quiet, but time will tell.
Yeah.
Well, Todd, as always, really appreciate it. Enjoy shoveling with your Jeep, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks. See you, Jason. Bye, Rich. Thanks, guys.
There you go. That's Todd Reynolds from Ray Sports. Rich Winter joins us every Wednesday here on Sports 1440. That's the business of sport. Well, Rich, it'll be 48 hours when we talk to you next before the NHL trade deadline. Actually, just under. So there'll probably be some trades done by then. So we'll talk about that. And we have another.
Yeah, and we'll probably have 5 or 6 players trade and look like complete buffoons today. But we'll.
Oh, well, that'll be great. Then we'll get one of them on the show. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll have 6 new goalies in Edmonton. It'll be great.
We'll talk to you next Wednesday, Rich. Have a good one.
Talk to you later.
In case you're wondering, Rich is Calvin Pickard's agent for those wondering why we're making the goalie comments. I love it. Let's get to the Con Man and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling, home of the no payments, no interest for 1 year on your furnace. Stay warm all winter. LegacyHeating.ca.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
The Edmonton Oilers have claimed defenseman Travis Dermott off waivers from Minnesota. Dermott played in 10 games for the Oilers earlier on this season. He was immediately sent down to the Bakersfield Condors on the ice tonight in the NHL. Getting going shortly. Got the Sens and Jets at 7:30. Devils in Colorado. Then at 8 o'clock, the Kings hosting the Vancouver Canucks in the association. The Raptors taking on the Indiana Pacers. Tip-off getting going shortly. Also the Pistons, Celtics, Sixers, Knicks, Nets, Thunder, Hawks, and Miami. Bulls host the Clippers, and the Kings taking on the Jazz. The Edmonton Oil Kings in action tonight once again, taking on the Brandon Wheat Kings. That'll get going at 6 o'clock. In the AJ, got Bonnyville heading to Grand Prairie. That starts at 7 and 5 o'clock. Puck drop in the PWHL. Ottawa taking on New York. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet and Derek Van Diest from NHL.com. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free radio player app and listen wherever you go.
Play Alberta has hundreds of casino games right at your fingertip. Join thousands discovering why Fortune Coin is one of Alberta's most popular games. Fill your reels with golden coins, multiply your prizes up to 6 times, and turn good spins into legendary ones. Land the Fortune Coin symbol to win cash, trigger the jackpot, launch the free spins bonus, and watch as the dragon takes over your screen. New players get 100 free spins only on playalberta.ca. Claim your offer today.
Your courtside seat awaits on Sports 1440. I'm Paul Sir, and I host the basketball show every Saturday morning from 10 to noon on Edmonton's sports leader, Sports 1440. Don't miss it. I'll catch you this weekend.
Introducing the new McSpicy from McDonald's. It looks like a regular chicken sandwich, but it's actually a spicy chicken sandwich. McSpicy. Consider yourself warned. Limited time only. Participate in McDonald's in Canada.
The Edmonton Firefighters Rooftop Campout for Muscular Dystrophy is happening now. Edmonton firefighters are again braving the elements by camping on the roof of Fire Hall number 2. But this year, they've decided to add a little twist and will be starting the rooftop campout with no camping equipment. The more money they raise for muscular dystrophy, the more equipment they'll get to survive an Edmonton winter, with the final goal of getting off the roof and helping this incredible cause. Donations can be made now at any Edmonton Fire Hall or online at edmontonrooftopcampout.ca.
Silent Rides is one of Alberta's premier bus charter companies with state-of-the-art motor coaches. We provide our customers with the safest and most reliable ground transportation. Our seatbelt-equipped buses have become the preferred carrier for many local sports teams, tours, corporate outings, and other various travel across Western Canada. For more information and to request a quote, contact Ted Nakamura at 780-940-0880 or visit silentrides.ca.
Looking at the Alberta weather forecast, wild, unpredictable, brutally tough.
When the weather turns tough, Titan Supply doesn't back down. Titan Supply has been protecting workers from conditions like this for 50 years. We stand tall with you against the elements with the industry's best rigging, hauling, and lifting products to get you home safe. Tire chains, wire rope, round slings, chain slings, and a whole lot more. Titan Supply in Edmonton, Grand Prairie, Red Deer, and Calgary. Online at titansupply.ca. Lift, dig, haul.
Start your adventure with a 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander at Cross Mitsubishi. Lease it for $299 a month with $49.99 due at signing. Enjoy 0% financing, a $1,000 trade rebate, and a $500 loyalty rebate. Equipped with a 10-year, 160,000-kilometer warranty. Offer ends February 28th. Visit Cross Mitsubishi at 9605 34th Avenue or online at crossmitsubishi.ca. Cross Mitsubishi, drive your ambition.
Join us for the Canadian premiere of Yuki, the untold story of hockey legends, on March 10th at Ford Hall, Rogers Place, Edmonton. Hosted by Kelly Rudy, this event features a gripping documentary celebrating over 50 NHL champions of Ukrainian-Canadian descent. Enjoy a Ukrainian-style meal and a Q&A session with Kelly and the director, Vladimir Mula. Tickets are limited. $50 for rush seating and $150 for VIP. Secure your spot now at ukrfolk.ca and be a part of this unforgettable evening.
Edmonton's go-to station for all things sports is Sports 1440.
From Low Tide to Kevin Karius and Jason Gregor, we deliver the latest on your favorite teams.
Tune in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week
to Sports 1440.
Your furnace can die in the blink of an eye, usually on the coldest night. So why take that chance this winter? Furnace Family, ATCO's newest home service company, can help. Not sure of your furnace's condition? We can check it for free with the purchase of a new furnace, giving you peace of mind and total comfort all winter long. Daikin offers lifetime warranty on their furnace heat exchangers. It could be the last furnace you ever buy. So call Furnace Family, Home Services by ATCO today. Jingle time.
Done right, they are right. FurnaceFamily.com.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Japa Machinery. Did you know that Japa offers in-house and on-site service, rain or shine? Japa's service department is here for you. Get a quote now at japamachinery.com.
He's Alberta's sports authority and lead touchdown winner of his family's backyard flag football games. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Well, lovely Wednesday afternoon, man. I really enjoy the business of sports. It's a very different segment that we have every Wednesday. Man, we got some big guests that are going to be coming up in the next few months. We're just looking at timeline and everything else because of the global, but we're going to have Marian Hossa, Dominic Hasek, and a few other big guests coming up in the business of sports. Because did you know that Dominic Hasek just ran for the Senate government over there? And so he's big into that. Marian Hossa is huge CEO of his own company that, one of the biggest food distributors now in Slovakia. So some very unique kind of tie-ins from their careers because, hey, those are Hall of Famers. They should have a lot of good stories. And, we'll get deep into to Marian Hossa. And, one of the very unique players with that decision to sign a 1-year deal and turn down, I think Edmonton had offered him like 80, 90 million at that point. It was crazy. So obviously it worked out for him. Ended up going to a few Stanley Cups and then finally winning with Chicago. Ended up winning 3 times, had a Hall of Fame career. So it's great. It is the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Remember, if you do gamble, use your game sense. Go to GameSenseAB.ca and learn more. Lots of talk on the orders. The text line's been fired up at 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. It's time now for the Spec Report brought to you by GS Construction. As the snow melts, construction season is heating up, especially in underground infrastructure, which they specialize in. And just a reminder, be safe through construction zones from GS Construction. As we welcome in Mark Spector, joining us from Florida, where Spec, it was the team's in a funk, and they continued in the funk. It started on the first shift. Bouchard had a giveaway on the first shift. Kapanen had a terrible turnover in the neutral zone that led to a goal outside of the Leon Draisaitl goal. I'm not sure Edmonton had one really good scoring chance. Outside of that, man, from start to finish, this was a deserving loss. There's games you play well and lose. This is one where Tampa was clearly the better team last night.
Yeah, I thought Edmonton, I thought the first period they stuck with them They were, Edmonton was probably better for the first 10 minutes. They were up 1-0. Then it kind of, they make a turnover, gets away. Skinner made some fantastic saves in the first period that, like Hagel could have scored at the 22nd mark, right? When Bouchard coughed that puck up. So Skinner gave him a chance. And then they open the second period and that goal goes in. And, Knobloch said after the game, his team's fragile. That game, when that puck went in on that wraparound, it was a lousy goal on Stuart Skinner. The air just came right out of the Oilers. And that's what that tells me, Jay, is the hockey teams probably had enough of seeing bad goals go in, almost one a night here. Anytime I see a team that sort of succumbs that much on a bad goal, that tells me they're all going, uh-oh, here we go again.
Yes, I don't know if I agree on that. Look at their first period. Stuart Skinner kept that game from being 4-0. He made 3 huge saves in the first 10 minutes. So
and they're in great shape. And then what happens when the second starts?
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure. But were they really in great shape? Like, the only reason it was 1-1 was because their goalie was playing great and they were sucking.
They weren't sucking that bad. I mean, they were, I don't know. I didn't think that the first period was Tampa pulled away at the end of the first period. They're the better team a little bit, but it's 1-1 and you're on the road in a really tough building against a really good team. It's 1-1. Hey, we got to the room. We're doing okay. We haven't won for a while. You know what? Let's come out and win the second period. And before the first shift is over, your goalie just gives them one.
Yeah, I don't know.
This isn't me saying Skinner's the fault of everything that's going wrong, but in last night's game,
the timing
is a fragile team, and they haven't won in a long time. And they do need a goalie that doesn't give them one good period, Jason, that gives them 3 good periods. And that goal sucked the life right out of them.
Yeah, well, I didn't understand watching the replay. Like, I don't know, like, I'm not a goaltender, but I didn't understand, like, why did it take so long to get across on that one? It was like it got a hitcher or something in this play. It was odd.
It wasn't even a scoring chance for Hagel. It wasn't even a chance he really had to earn that hard. You know, and I don't even want to talk about what Bouchard's doing on that play, because, you know, the game opens that Skinner stops Hagel on a wicked Bouchard giveaway 15 seconds into the game.
Yeah.
And then 15 seconds into the second period, maybe Skinner could use a little help from Bouchard, and Bouchard's skating along, whistling a happy tune the way he tends to, and gets nothing done. Like, I don't know what he's doing on that play. He might as well have been on the bench because he wasn't doing any good in the ice.
Yeah, you look, how concerned are you now? Hey, teams are in a funk and they'll go in a funk and, you know, maybe they'll get out of it at some point. I don't think there's any doubt. Like, McDavid's not going to play this bad for the rest of the season. You know, that's obvious, the rest of their team. But I look at some of the areas of concern, Spec. They haven't been a fast team all year. That even when they were winning games, they were not a fast team, right? They don't have anybody who's a real emotional, like Connor McDavid's had more big hits than any other forward on the team this year. That's great for McDavid. It sucks for the rest of your team. Corey Perry has had more, you know, like, great for Corey Perry, bad for the rest of your team that he's got, you know, more goals amongst wingers other than Nugent Hopkins and Hyman, right? Like, that's not good. So a lot of the areas of weakness that I found have been there all year are still there. And now you're close to the deadline, and now your team's losing, so it gets magnified more a little bit. But to me, the lack of energy, the lack of difference maker who can bring some emotion to the game, the lack of speed, a penalty kill that has sucked basically all year. Even though they had a 30-game stretch, they're still 25th or 26th actually on the penalty kill. So if you're Stan Bowman, how aggressive? Like, I think he needs to be very aggressive. And I don't buy for a moment this, well, I'm not really sure about Evander Kane. Give me a break. You tell him, hey, Evander Kane isn't playing in March. I've been told by multiple people that he's not playing in March. So we're talking, Spec, a 10-day window, and that's going to hold you hostage potentially on using LTR. Give me a break. And the other thing is, I'm not, like, Evander Kane has no reason to rush back. The guy hasn't played healthy in a long time. Why the hell? I think this is the most white noise that means nothing that I've heard in a long time around this team.
I'm absolutely with you. We talked about it with Carius this morning. The Oilers know exactly what they're going to do. Everybody knows Kane's not playing until playoffs. They just can't say it out loud, but it's absolutely clear. They'll tell us, Jason, at the trade deadline when they spend the $5.1 million or whatever they have, right? They'll spend the deadline like a team that doesn't expect Kane to be back. That's what they'll do. They don't expect him back. He's not coming back till the playoffs, okay? For sure. Back to the team, you know, I think I wrote a piece today. It's a little bit of the things that's starting to concern me here. We're 70% of the season done here now. You know, there's, like, the Oilers were really, really, really good last year for sure, but they're having a year. They're having that year, like, you know, the team that has a great shooting percentage one year and can't match it the next. That's kind of happening to the Oilers. Like Hyman's not having as good a year as he had last year. McDavid's not having as good a year. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins isn't having as good a year as he had last year, right? Their power play's not having as good a year as it had. Their PK is not having as good a year as it had. Evan Bouchard is having, frankly, a fairly poor year, nowhere close to where he was. Stuart Skinner. So I'm just naming all your best guys. And except for Draisaitl and Nurse, I would ask you to give me someone who's having a better year this year than they had last year. And last year, as good as it wasn't quite good enough. They just had to raise their game a little bit, but they haven't raised their game. Their game has gone south over the course of that roster, Jay. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, there's definitely some moves that haven't panned out. There's no arguing that, right? They're a different looking team. The one player who people used to rip on me, oh, he's terrible. You think he's good? I never said he was great. I just said he was solid. And guess, you know where they miss Cody Ceci? On the penalty kill. And penalty kill is a big part of the game. Anybody who suggests otherwise, I don't think is paying attention. Their penalty kill was a major reason why they got to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. It was -1 through 25 playoff games. -1. Like it's never going to happen again. I don't think for the Edmonton Oilers to think that, if they go to they go to Cup Final again, but they're not going to be -1 in the penalty kill. It's just such an oddity. It was great. They deserved it, but it's not something that's repeatable in my eyes. So, they got to improve in other areas, Spec, but right now I get the sense we're not really give me a break. You should be sure the whole reason that you didn't match Holloway was because you wanted cap flexibility. So now you're telling me, wow, we might not do anything because no, you said you had a plan in August. Stick to the plan. The plan is cap flexibility. You've got it with this is the most cap space they've had at the trade deadline in decade. Well, when it mattered, I should say, right? Because the last few years they had no cap. They didn't have $5 million in cap space, and they still managed to make trades. So don't tell me you can't make trades. They can make trades. You just got to go make them.
Okay, what did I miss? Did someone come out and say they're not doing anything at the deadline? Because that's not what I understand.
Well, no, the point is they're like, well, if they don't have Kane's LTIR, then they can't do anything.
Forget about Kane. Exactly. They're going to spend that $5 million at the deadline.
Yes.
I'll bet you my golden retriever. It's going to happen. But, I feel like, you talked about the PK. So that PK was inordinate last year. It's like a high shooting percentage. You're probably not doing it again. The power play was unbelievable. Probably not doing it again. Bouchard had 82 points and set a record in the playoffs last year. Probably not doing that again. So somewhere on this team, I want to see something that's better this year than last season. That's what I want. Give me some guys that are having the good year this year, right? Mm-hmm. It's Nurse is one and Draisaitl is one. And I can't think of the third thing on this team that makes me say, okay, well, you know what? This isn't as good, but what about that? I don't see it, man. So that has me a little worried. I'm not sure bringing in two guys at the deadline is going to turn Zach Hyman back into a 50-goal man. It's going to wake up Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who's had a unbelievably quiet year and was really soft on an important goal last night defensively. It's going to wake up Stu Skinner, who's just okay and no more than okay. There's a lot of guys that are just playing all right, including Connor McDavid. He's okay. Yeah. Connor McDavid is only okay by his standard and no better than that right now, Jay.
Everybody keeps asking, Spec, you're around him. Do you think he's injured?
No, I don't think he's injured.
Yeah. Because if he was, then you don't play him, right? Like if he's injured, you don't play him.
No, I don't think he's injured. I mean, is he a little tired? Sure. It's all the guys. I don't think McKinnon has a point yet after the Four Nations,
Right.
So there's some of that going on. Eric Johnson told me in the dressing room the other day in Philly that he said, I did the World Cup back in whatever year it was. He says, I was useless for the next month coming back from that thing. So I understand that. But McDavid's numbers extrapolated through the season aren't close to what he was last year. They're not close.
Yeah.
So he's your best guy. We all know that. And if there's one guy that can flip a switch, it's him. Let's talk about this. Are we going to get some lines that get solidified here? Are we going to keep playing Zach Hyman on a different line than Connor McDavid? How long are we going to do that for?
Yeah, well, that's one. I would staple Hyman to McDavid and just leave him there. And you know what? And the other thing I don't love is at some point, you want to go to Draisaitl and McDavid after power plays or penalty kill? I totally get it. That makes perfect sense to me. They've been sitting out for 2 minutes. It makes sense. I like it. But it's a 2-1 game in the middle of the second period. I don't need to be going to McDavid and Draisaitl all the time. I just think it's too much of a crutch at some point. You got to say, hey guys, guess what? You other guys figure it out. Do something.
Yeah, that's been an issue around this team for 10 years, right? Yeah. Anytime something needs doing, it's and when Knobloch came, he really cracked that nut, and he did get away from sending those guys over the boards every single time something needed to happen, and it made them a better team. So I agree with that. I think you need to put listen, the bottom six here is so vanilla right now. I mean, there is nobody getting anything done. They're not hitting, they're not fighting, they're not frankly competing hard enough. They're sure not scoring. And then if you go into your top six, your second line wingers are Podkolzin and Arvidsson, and neither of them are having a good year. So it's thin, baby. This is a team that I picked to go to the Stanley Cup and win it, and I don't like my pick much right now.
Well, you look at the orders, and at some point, some of these veterans need to show they're engaged in the game. With it, you can't just keep going through games and be like, did Connor Brown play? Did Matthias Janmark play? Did Victor Arvidsson play? Did Adam Henrique play? Like, what are they doing? Like, at some point, you got to do something, do you not?
Connor Brown's a great example. He's fast, he gets on you, and he never hits you.
Oh,
right?
Never.
He gets on you, and he never hits you. Like, what? If Connor Brown's not throwing hits, what the hell's Connor Brown doing? Because what's he got? 8 goals, maybe?
Oh, God. I don't think he's got that many, does he?
I don't know. Whatever. He scores at a fourth line pace, and that's fine. He's a third line player. I'd like a little more, but give me something else then. He's not going to fight. I don't need you to fight. Get on the body and separate man from puck once in a while. At least Podkolzin hits somebody. I'm telling you right now, Podkolzin gets almost nothing else done, but he's hitting people because at least he can control that area of his effort. And I think the third one here, to me, we talk about Bouchard every day now, but at some point there's got to be some accountability in this lineup. I'm talking to people all around the league every night here, and everybody's talking to me about Bouchard and going, what's going on with this guy? What happened? And he opens the game with a 5-bell giveaway on the very first shift and doesn't miss a shift. Doesn't miss a shift. Paul Coffey. I know Paul Coffey. I've known him for 20 years. That's not the Paul Coffey I know. At some point, don't sit Bouchard down for a shift. Say, okay, son, you're going to come back in the second period and we're going to start this thing over again. You're going to watch the first, but it's getting old, man. The Bouchard giveaway, the Bouchard lazy play, it's getting old.
Spec, it'll be interesting to see. They are in Florida. That game goes two ways, right? You're either it's the reminder of the worst night of your life because you lost the dream, right? Or it's the motivator and you're like, God, we owe them something. So they either come out flat and get spanked or they come out annoyed.
I think this is the perfect place for the Edmonton Oilers to be. Listen, they got to play hard. They've lost 4 in a row. They're going to look around that dressing room. They're going to spend an entire day tomorrow being reminded of the worst day of their life. There's only one way to react to that, Jason. There's only one way. Don't even entertain a team that goes in there and gets all sad and doesn't play very hard. I don't even want to talk about that team. If that happens, man, get the tape recorder going when we do this interview tomorrow. I expect the team that looks around that rink and looks at that uniform across from them and says, F you guys, let's go. That's what I expect tomorrow.
Spec, great stuff, buddy. Enjoy Florida.
All right, man.
Maybe we'll see a Florida man story about Spec tomorrow. You ever Google that? In Florida? God, it's a funny, man. There's some craziness going on there. Hard to argue with Spec. He's fired up, but it's true. Like the Oilers, that game yesterday, my goodness. Outside of Leon Draisaitl, was there one positive in that game? Right? What can you think about? I didn't mind Matt Savoy's game. I'll give the young rookie. I didn't mind his game. He seemed to be around the puck a little bit. Other than that, anything? Not really. Stu Skinner made some big saves, but then he allowed a goal that he's got to stop. Now, he didn't cost him the game. Don't get me wrong. Bad timing of goal, yes, but they didn't have much going. They gave up way too much again. Like that first period we talked about before the game. Limit odd man rushes. Try to limit scoring chances off the rush. And the first 10 minutes, the first period, I think they gave up 6. And you're just like, what is happening? So it's brutal. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. DVD will join us next on a busy, fired up Wednesday edition of the Gregor Show. Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Play Alberta has hundreds of casino games right at your fingertip. Join thousands discovering why Fortune Coin is one of Alberta's most popular games. Fill your reels with golden coins, multiply your prizes up to 6 times, and turn good spins into legendary ones. Land the Fortune Coin symbol to win cash, trigger the jackpot, launch the free spins bonus, and watch as the dragon takes over your screen. New players get 100 free spins only on playalberta.ca. Claim your offer today.
It's the season for love, and you're about to fall hard for the vehicle of your dreams. Presenting the outstanding 2025 XC90 from Volvo Cars Edmonton. Right now, you can lease your 2025 XC90 plug-in hybrid from 1.49% and save $4,600. Or finance a 2025 XC60 from 1.49% and save $1,500. All while being deeply infatuated by the newly upgraded, highly attractive body and wheel design. Volvo Cars Edmonton. VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. 1205 101 Street Southwest.
At Papa John's, we're not just in the business of making better pizza. We're in the business of making everything better. Ambitious? Perhaps. Delicious? You better believe it. Monday? Make it a pizza party. Sick of parenting? Get Papa John's on dinner duty. Date night? We've got the recipe for romance. With our never frozen dough and always fresh toppings, Papa John's is committed to making it all better. Get better today at papajohns.ca or visit any of our 50-plus locations across Alberta. Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza.
Legacy Heating and Cooling jingle auditions, take one for Gene Principe. Are you ready, Gene?
Ready? I'm not just here to make a thermo a couple of bucks. I'd never just microphone it in.
Take one.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Nice.
Boom! I'm a musical genius.
Legacy's going to love this for furnace season.
I couldn't love it amore. With no payments and no interest for 1 year.
Are you always like this?
Yep. Unlike a furnace, I have no filter.
Legacy Heating and Cooling.
My utility bills are going through the roof. How can I take advantage of the sun and put my lazy roof to work?
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Energy team reporting. When you're ready to make your home or business more efficient, Action Electrical has the power to install solar panel systems and EV chargers.
Facing an electrical menace? Call on the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta with supercharged skills and strong family values. ActionElectrical.net.
Introducing the new McSpicy from McDonald's. It looks like a regular chicken sandwich, but it's actually a spicy chicken sandwich. McSpicy. Consider yourself warned. Limited time only. Participating McDonald's in Canada.
Are you tired of waking up tired? Are you tossing and turning all night and stiff and sore the next morning? If your sleep is suffering, it's time to visit the Brick Mattress Store. Their sleep experts will help you find the right support for a restful night's sleep. Back sleeper, side sleeper, hot or cold, there is a perfect mattress for you. Plus, with next day delivery, your best night's sleep could be tomorrow. Check out the Brick Mattress Store locations in Spruce Grove, South Edmonton, St. Albert, and Leduc, and start waking up refreshed.
New Edge Construction wants you. We are hiring for several positions. Join a leading civil construction group in the Edmonton region. A strong team, competitive wages, retention bonuses, and current model equipment are what awaits you at New Edge. Go to newedgeconstruction.com. That's NUEDGE construction.com.
Join a leading civil construction group in the Edmonton region. Start your career now. Go to newedgeconstruction.com.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Cantork. We offer sale, rental, repair, and calibration of hydraulic, pneumatic, and battery-powered torque wrenches, stud tensioners, and flange maintenance equipment. Order today at cantork.com.
Hat tricks, touchdowns, and home runs. Get it all with the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Texts keep flying in. Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Hope you are having a lovely day. 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. It is the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Hey, Greg, why are you so confident that the Orders will use the LTIR money? Because it'd be foolish not to. Like I said, I've been told by multiple sources that he's not playing in March. So now that leaves 17 days. 17 days of the season. And really, because of the exemption for LTIR, I'll push it back to the 9th, 10 days. Because he can go on a conditioning stint, stay on LTIR, and play 3 games in the American League. It's actually the best place for him to be. You know what? You're out of sight, out of mind. The game's not as fast. You can feel a little bit better. Maybe score a goal or 2, get some confidence. Great. You get paid the same. What's the problem? And you know what? If you're worried about Kane, because to me, well, there's 2 things here at play. You're trying to, oh, geez, Kane's such a bad person that he would do this. Like, I don't know if that's true or not. I know Kane's history isn't the best. That's fair. But I'm having confidence in organization saying he is not going public. It's not happening. Right? Kane, you go public, guess what? We'll waive you. And you'll go to the minors because it doesn't have a no movement clause anymore. Like, it's just, I think it's white noise, and it's getting everybody all fired up in Edmonton. And I just think it's, you know what? The organization. And the other thing is, right? If you're only worried about a 10-day window, somebody else might get hurt in it. Because if it's all what ifs, well, what if somebody gets hurt? Then they can go on LTR and you can activate Kane. Worst case scenario. So to me, I've got the LTR money. I'm using it. You can't just waste another year. Because if the Oilers don't make a few additions, they're not winning. Could they win a round? Probably. Could they win 2? Maybe. I couldn't see them winning 3 or 4 rounds with the roster that they currently have. I don't think it's good enough. So that's why they got to make some moves. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440. Let's go in the room, brought to you by Action Electrical, one of the most diversified electrical contractors in the province. Project, service, tag, or maybe you need solar. They got it all. ActionElectrical.net. As Derek Van Diest from NHL.com joins us. The other thing we should mention, DVD, like the Oilers aren't catching the Jets now. Like you can win the Pacific, but you're going to be the number 2 seed. That's pretty much a foregone conclusion. The 4-game losing streak combined. The Jets, they might never lose again. They've won 10 in a row. They're already up 2-0 in Ottawa tonight to a depleted Senators roster, but the Oilers are 13 back. They're not catching them. So, it's really, you're going to finish second, which means then you'd get the wild card team. Maybe Colorado, we'll see. But you look at the Oilers right now, DVD, and what would be, when you look at how they've played lately and really how they played for the last few months, good or bad, what do you think is the number 1 addition that they need for this team?
Well, personally, I think they need some help on the back end. I think defensively, they've been really atrocious just in their coverage and in their defensive play. They're kind of hung out the goalie to dry a few times. And to me, you need to make a move back there because the guys you have going for you right now, they're not working. And, I think that's an issue right now for this hockey team. They pick up the Dermott again today off waivers. I don't know how much that's going to help you, but I think they got to go out and make a move kind of like they did a couple years ago when they brought Ekholm in here. You got to make a splash. You got to go out there and get a guy that can help you on the back end because I really think that's where they're struggling right now, and they're giving up too many grade A chances. They're not playing well in their own zone, and it starts from there. And I know that there's been a lot on the goaltending. Yeah, the goaltending hasn't been good enough on this road trip. I agree with you 100% there. Like the people that say the goaltending hasn't been good enough, but the grade A looks some of these teams are getting, you gotta defend those better. And I think to me right now, that's Stan Bowman's number 1 priority.
Well, it's hard to argue that, right? Like you look at a second pair guy to play with Darnell Nurse, that would help, or maybe you play Nurse with Bouchard and you play someone else with Ekholm because the Nurse, the Ekholm Bouchard pairing isn't absolutely lighting on fire by any stretch of the imagination lately either. So there's like when the team's at its worst, it's probably not the best time to evaluate who they are. Yeah. I just think even when they were playing well, the areas of their game that I didn't like and I talked about was I don't think they have enough energy, grit guys in their lineup. I think that's something they could use. I think they could use a little bit more speed. They also, for me, could use a right shot center who can take faceoffs and kill penalties because their penalty kill isn't working. Like let's call a spade here. It's not working. It's got to get better, right? And like the Brown Janmark pairing as a forward group, they're getting murdered. They've allowed 17 goals in 80 minutes of penalty kill time. It's awful.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. And then they lost a lot of speed when they let those guys walk, right? They let a lot of young guys go that could fly, and then they brought them in with some older veterans that that aren't working out. And I think that's obviously a big situation there, is that they lost that speed when they were killing penalties. They were always a threat to go back the other way. They're not that threat anymore. They don't have that threat. They're not as aggressive on the PK as they were last year. And when they were most successful, because they were disrupting plays. They're winning battles along the corner, and then you always have that threat to take the puck back the other way. And right now it's not working. And I agree with you there. They do need some help. They have to be a bit bigger and stronger and grittier, and they have to get faster as well. And you lost all those. You had some of those elements that you let walk away, and I think the Holloway one that's going to burn them, because look at the year he's having in St. Louis, and you brought in Jeff Skinner. You're hoping that he's going to have a good year. There's no comparison there. Which player you'd rather have right now, whether it's Dylan Holloway or Jeff Skinner? There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Jeff Skinner was playing better. He's playing much better. And I was a little surprised that he was taken out of the lineup yesterday, because he's trying to find his game. But yeah, they need some speed. They need some size. They need some help defensively. It's basically been the same thing every year that the Oilers going toward the trade deadline. What do you need? You need a defenseman. You need a bottom six forward. You need some size. And I think it's no different this year. This year they have some veterans there that, the thing is like, how much do you have to move? You don't have a lot in the farm. You don't have a lot of prospects. You have your draft picks. So you're going to have to find a way to make it all work. But I agree with you. This roster is not going to get it done. This roster is not going to win a Stanley Cup, and they need some help in order to get them across that line. I think this team is very good when they're playing very good, but I think they need everyone to play exceptional. And right now, they're not doing that. That's where they're in the predicament they're in right now. But I do think that they're going to need some help, and Stan Bowman has to go out there and make some moves. He can't sit on his hands this year. When your team is in a championship window, you have to help them out.
Yeah, 100%. Like Stan Bowman, right? The time he got hired, there's not a lot of trades in September and October, and obviously he made the decision with some other people. They weren't going to match Holloway. And I agree with you. That's one that's not going to look good for long term. Podkolzin trade, it's a win. You get an NHL player for a 4th round pick. Kasperi Kampanain's a waiver wire. It hasn't hurt you. I'm not sure he's the answer moving forward, though. He's definitely a guy that you could improve on. I don't think there's any doubt there. But now's the time, as the GM with all his experience, these next 9 days is, to me, kind of like it's, this is Stan Bowman's playoffs as a GM. Like, how do you perform at crunch time?
Exactly. And he was brought in to extend that championship window. It's something he did with the Chicago Blackhawks. He was able to extend that window and get them a couple of Stanley Cups. And I think that's what they want here in Edmonton. We have the 2 best players in the world on your team. We got one signed for 8 years. We're going to sign the other one for 8 years coming up next summer. So you have to extend that window. You have to find the team around him to win those championships. And he was able to do it before, and that's what they want him to do now. So you're right. This is the playoffs for him, and especially the first year. He comes in here. You look at this team, that team went to the Cup final. There were some changes made in the offseason. At the time, the changes looked really good. Everyone thought, oh, wow, these are great changes. They're going to work out. They haven't worked out as well as people thought. So now he's got to go in there, and he's got to help out. He's got to make some moves. He's got to find, use his connections, use his contacts. He's got to make the moves, and he's got to find the right deals for this hockey club. And I think it's going to be a very, very interesting trade deadline. When Ken Holland was here, every trade deadline he tried to help the team. He brought in guys, whether they helped or didn't help. He made moves and bring in guys to help the team. And I think that's what Stan Bowman has to do now. He's got to go out there and bring in guys to help the team and say, hey, we still think you guys are a Stanley Cup contender. Here's some help, and hopefully these guys will get you over the top, because they got to bring in some guys that can really play the game. Bring in some guys that can really help them, like Ekholm, like some of those moves they made at the deadline in the past. Guys that can help you out to get to that next level.
Derek Van Diest joins us, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. It's interesting. You look at the penalty kill, and I looked it up. So the Oilers are 24. They're number 1, though, in expected goals against on the penalty kill. So I got to find out how much of that is unlucky goals, how much of that is bad goals, what's going on, because that's a pretty big disparity when you're 26th in actual, but you should be first in expected goals against. So that's you know what, that might not look very good on the goaltending for sure. So that's something to look at, guaranteed. When you look at, how concerned are you about McDavid? right now. I know it's only 5 games, but like 5 games for McDavid to be outscored, at the rate he is and outshot at the rate he is, like it's never happened in his career before. Now Speck said, hey, maybe he's fatigued a little bit. Some people are claiming he's injured, and everybody likes to say to injury because it's like, well, geez, injury I can accept rather than just, oh, maybe he's not playing well. Where do you come out on it?
Yeah, I know. I was talking to some people about that, and they were asking me about that if I thought he was injured. I don't think he was injured. I know he took a couple of big hits at the Four Nations. I don't think he's injured. I think fatigue might play a factor because those games are so intense at the Four Nations. There was so much on him, and I think he didn't get a break. He didn't get a rest. He went from essentially Four Nations right into the lineup. And I remember I was talking to Paul McLean with our monthly coaches column, and we talked about that a little bit. And I said, what would you do? And he goes, well, when we were in Detroit and the Swedes won the gold medal in 2006, they had 2 or 3 games off because they went to Stockholm to celebrate, and then they had that downtime, and then they could refresh, and then we got him back in the lineup. He said they missed 3 games with us. I know it's tough to say to McDavid, no, you know what? You shouldn't play this game. You got to take this game off. But I don't think he's had that downtime. He jumped right in from the frying pan into the fire here, knowing that this team needs him. So, but I think that might be an issue. It might be he's played a lot of hockey. He plays a lot of minutes, and sometimes you got to kind of. Guys want to keep playing, but sometimes you're the coach. You're going to say, you know what? I think maybe you should take a day off here, take a day off here. I know it's tough to keep him out of lineup when you have them, but I know I talked to Paul McLean about that, and he said it wasn't easy playing without those guys, but it paid off in the long run. So we'll see here. He's still flying, like he's skating fine. He's moving fine. I just think that. Yeah, it's the grind. It's not only the physical grind, Jason. It's the mental grind of that tournament. That tournament really became something big, just the way everything was set up, and it became a real mental thing for that Team Canada, and to be able to get over that. So yeah, we'll be able. It'll be interesting to see here as they finish off this road trip. They took the day off today, hopefully that can regroup. They didn't practice, so hopefully they come back tomorrow. And yeah, I think McDavid. There must be something there. If it's not physically, it's mentally. And Draisaitl said that, hey, it was a nice mental break to just get away from hockey and come back and you see what he's doing. So, yeah, you hope that McDavid can find a way to kind of recharge real quick here and get into this, this stretch drive here, which the Oilers need him.
DVD, we will see what happens. They go back to where their dream, probably one of the worst night of their lives in Florida. And that's, that could be great motivation, or it's one where it's just, a bad memory. I'll be very curious to see, like, if they can't come out hard tomorrow, I don't know if they ever will. So it'll be fascinating to see how they show up tomorrow in Florida.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right. They should be motivated, and they won't have Matthew Tkachuk to play against. So they should be out. And, if you got to win a game, that's the game you should win going back there, considering what happened last spring.
Awesome, man. Thanks. Have a good one.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
There you go. That's Derek Van Dies from NHL.com. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you. Quick break. We'll come back, wrap things up on, man, that was a jam-packed. Can't believe it's almost over. Very busy Wednesday edition of The Gregor Show. Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X.
At Papa John's, we're not just in the business of making better pizza. We're in the business of making everything better. Ambitious? Perhaps. Delicious? You better believe it. Monday? Make it a pizza party. Sick of parenting? Get Papa John's on dinner duty. Date night? We've got the recipe for romance. With our never frozen dough and always fresh toppings, Papa John's is committed to making it all better. Get better today at papajohns.ca or visit any of our 50-plus locations across Alberta. Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza.
Legacy Heating and Cooling offers no payments and no interest for 1 year on your new furnace. So when you wake up to no heat,
call Legacy, call Legacy.
If you need it immediately with no overtime rates, if you need it immediately and want to combo it with AC,
call Legacy, call Legacy.
No payments and no interest for 1 year on your new furnace. It could only be Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Hey, did you know you can get a free drink today?
Nice. I love free drinks.
Yeah, Booster Juice called your name today on the Booster Rewards app. So you get a free smoothie, booster mixer, or fresh juice.
Well then, why are we still sitting here just talking about it?
Watch for your name on the Booster Rewards app and social media. 2 names every day, all February long. Must be a Booster Rewards app member. For complete details, visit boosterjuice.com.
In 1973, deep in the basement of an Edmonton family home, an elite team of specialized forces came together to form Action Electrical.
Action Electrical Divisions, assemble!
Projects team reporting.
Service team reporting.
Testing team reporting.
Energy team reporting.
Supercharged with skills in their electrical fields and grounded by strong family values. Facing an electrical menace? Call on the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
The Edmonton Firefighters Rooftop Campout for Muscular Dystrophy is happening now. Edmonton firefighters are again braving the elements by camping on the roof of Fire Hall number 2. But this year, they've decided to add a little twist and will be starting the rooftop campout with no camping equipment. The more money they raise for muscular dystrophy, the more equipment they'll get to survive an Edmonton winter, with the final goal of getting off the roof and helping this incredible cause. Donations can be made now at any Edmonton Fire Hall or online at edmontonrooftopcampout.ca.
Introducing the new McSpicy from McDonald's. It looks like a regular chicken sandwich, but it's actually a spicy chicken sandwich. McSpicy. Consider yourself warned. Limited time only. Participate in McDonald's in Canada.
Snow removal contractors and community leagues. The tools you need are available at the prices you want. Now at the Lawnmower Hospital. Save up to $1,300 and get a free Echo backpack blower. All of BCS's industry-leading belt-free snow sweepers are on sale. And you'll get the powerful Echo PB9010 backpack blower free with select models. Find out more at thelawnmowerhospital.com.
The Lawnmower Hospital.
Feel the thrill of the 2025 Mitsubishi Eclipse at Cross Mitsubishi. Lease for $239 a month with $49.99 due at signing. Enjoy 0% financing, a $1,000 trade rebate, and a $500 loyalty rebate. Equipped with a 10-year, 160,000-kilometer warranty. Offer ends February 28th. See Cross Mitsubishi, 9605 34th Avenue, or visit crossmitsubishi.ca. Cross Mitsubishi, drive your ambition.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Epcor. Stormwater ponds in Edmonton are designed to move water and runoff from streets and sidewalks, making them unsafe for winter activities. Instead, head to a community league or city rink that's safe for you, your friends, and family. Think twice and stay off the ice. Learn more at epcor.com/winter safety.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Looking at a slow night in the National Hockey League. No surprise, Wednesdays aren't as busy as Tuesday, Thursday. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays has become kind of the busy night in the National Hockey League usually, and the Orders right now are on that rotation. Of course, they played in Tampa last night. They will be in. There's 12 games tomorrow. They'll play then. Then there's 3 games again on Friday, and then 13 on Saturday. So that's where the Orders will end their road trip, and they're just hoping to get a win in Florida or Carolina. Of course, first time the Orders have lost 4 consecutive games since November of 2023. I think they actually lost 5 at that point. So if they lose tomorrow, it's not like it's much farther. But I'd have to go back a while, I think, for 6 consecutive losses. So they're going to have to find a way to find their game. Out-of-town scoreboard tonight has Ottawa losing to the Jets 2-0. Avalanche are hosting the Devils. Also the Kings. Hey, very quietly, the LA Kings. They win tonight. They're only 1 point back of the Orders. Edmonton's got to wake up here, man. The race for first in the Pacific is suddenly a 3-horse race. Getting close. On behalf of Connor Halley, Declan Kruger, I'm Jason Gregor. Have yourselves a wonderful Wednesday. Maybe enjoy some wings where you're going. OTR, they're very good. Check it out. Let's get to the con, man. And the Sports 1440 update brought to you by Ewell, your partner in power since 1975. You need electrical gear. One-stop shop has it all. EWEL.ca. Good night.
the Sports 1440 update.
The Edmonton Oilers getting defenseman Travis Dermott off waivers from the Minnesota Wild earlier today. Dermott already played 10 games for the Oil this season. He's been immediately sent down to the Bakersfield Condors. On the ice tonight, the Jets lead the Sens 2-0. Just about to wrap up the first period. Appleton Perfetti with the goals for Winnipeg. Later tonight, you got the Avs and the Devils. Then at 8 o'clock, the Canucks taking on the Kings. In the association in the second quarter, the Raptors trail the Pacers 36-33. This is the Pistons leading the Celtics 49-37. And the Knicks on top of the 76ers 44-28. Later tonight, Bulls host the Clippers, Kings in Utah, and the Rockets taking on the Spurs. PWHL after 20 minutes, the Ottawa Charge and New York Stars tied at 1 apiece. The Old Kings in action in about 10 minutes time, taking on the Brandon Wheat Kings. Then at 7 o'clock tonight in the AJ, you got Bonnieville heading to Grand Prairie to take on the Storm. That's going to do it for us here on the Jason Gregor Show. Coming up next, we've got Fox Sports Radio all night. Live local coverage resumes tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. on the Kevin Carius Show. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
This is Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.